I've been driving trucks for 3 years. It's the first time anyone's had the guts to play me for a fool. He said the load was 3 tons, but as soon as I hit the highway, the scale jumped straight to 5 tons. Overweight fine, 4,500, 9 points off my license. I didn't even make the 800 yuan freight fee. I actually lost 3,700. The owner laughed at me over the phone. Female drivers are so easy to scam, but he didn't know I didn't cry or make a scene. Instead, at the drop-off in Dongguan, right in front of everyone, I unloaded exactly 3 tons. I kept the extra 2 tons for myself. It was those 2 tons that eventually had him begging on his knees, and sent him and his boss straight to prison. My name is Lin Wangxing. I've been a trucker for 3 years. I haven't been home once. It's not that I don't want to. It's just that once the wheels start turning, they don't stop. This year, before Mid-Autumn Festival, I promised my parents I'd definitely be home. But on the afternoon of the 29th, I had just finished unloading produce in Guilin, Guangxi. I was debating whether to head home empty or pick up a load on the way. My phone suddenly rang. The freight app popped up an emergency order. Urgent order, 3 tons of red sandalwood, Guilin to Dongguan. Freight fee negotiable, red sandalwood. My heart skipped a beat. That's a precious hardwood. It's worth nearly 2 million per ton. 3 tons are worth over 6 million. But the app only listed 3,000. That's suspiciously low. Just as I was about to swipe past it, a call came through.
Hello. Is this driver Lin?
It was a middle-aged man. He had a local accent. He sounded polite enough.
I see you're in Guilin. I have some red sandalwood that needs to get to Dongguan fast. 3 tons. Can you handle it?
I saw the post. 3,000, right?
Yeah, exactly. 3,000.
He paused, then he immediately started lowballing me.
Driver Lin, we're just a small business. 3,000 is a bit much. Can you do it for less?
I almost laughed out loud. 3 tons of red sandalwood, worth millions, and he's playing the small business card. Sir, 3,000 really isn't much. It's over 1,000 kilometers from Guilin to Dongguan. Fuel and tolls alone are nearly 2,000, and I have to drive home empty after. He cut me off.
1,500.
No.
1,000. Will you do it for 1,000? You're heading that way anyway. An empty truck earns nothing. 1,000 is basically free money.
I was getting annoyed. Bargaining like this was just disrespectful. But I checked the GPS. Dongguan was indeed on my way home. Going back empty was a waste. At least 1,000 would cover some gas. 1,800. That's my lowest.
800.
His tone turned cold. He sounded arrogant and certain.
800. Take it or leave it. If not, I can find plenty of other trucks.
I was stunned. From 3,000 down to 800. This wasn't bargaining. He was playing me. You've got to be joking.
Driver Lin, let me be blunt.
He said slowly.
At your location, I can find a truck cheaper than you anytime. I'm calling you because you're a woman. You're careful and steady. I can trust you with the cargo. $800. Think of it as a favor. I'll give you more work in the future.
A female driver. Careful, trustworthy. It sounded like a compliment, but with an 800 yuan fee, it was clear. He thought female drivers were easy targets. That this was all I was worth. I gripped my phone tightly, my knuckles turning white. On the other end of the line, another man's voice could be heard faintly.
Why waste your breath on her? If she won't take it, forget it. Plenty of other trucks are waiting.
I gritted my teeth. Trucks are scarce during the mid-autumn holiday, and this route is actually on my way. $800. It's enough for a full tank. Every little bit helps. Fine, I said in a low voice, 800 it is. But let's be clear. 3 tons of cargo. I'm not responsible if it's overweight.
Don't worry. It's exactly 3 tons. Definitely not over.
I hung up. I felt like something was off. But I couldn't put my finger on it. I tossed my phone onto the passenger seat. I started the engine and headed toward the suburban warehouse park. I arrived at the location that evening. They told me to be there at 7 the next morning to load up at the warehouse. I managed a few hours of sleep in the truck. I washed up quickly in the morning. I arrived by 6:30. The warehouse park was tucked away in a remote industrial zone. It was surrounded by timber transit warehouses. When I arrived, lumber was already piled at the entrance. 4 or 5 workers were busy packing. At a glance, it was all deep purplish red hardwood of varying thicknesses, wrapped loosely in tarps, and piled on pallets. A middle-aged man in a short-sleeved silk shirt came up to me. He was a bit chubby, with a string of beads around his neck. He scanned me from head to toe. His look clearly said, "So, it's a female."
Mr. Lin.
He composed himself and took off his sunglasses.
Just you?
Just me. He shook his head. He shouted inside.
Wang. Get out here and load the truck. A female driver, driving solo. Be careful with the cargo, don't scratch her truck.
It sounded like he cared, but he couldn't hide the condescension in his voice. A female driver, driving solo. I've been hauling freight on my own for 3 years. I've seen every kind of road. I've hauled every kind of load. Did he really need to point that out? I didn't say anything. I just opened the trailer door and let the workers load the truck. They moved back and forth. I stood by and watched. After about half an hour, when the last pallet came, I spotted a problem immediately. A few pieces of timber were clearly thicker and longer. They were much heavier. The workers specifically used a forklift to shove them into the very back of the trailer, then covered them with ordinary lumber. It looked like they were trying to hide them. Sir, I called out to him. How heavy are these pieces? The worker froze for a second. He instinctively looked over at the man in the short-sleeved shirt.
They're all the same.
The man walked over with a smile and patted the side of my truck.
3 tons of cargo, exactly as specified. Can't be wrong.
Can I weigh it?
Weigh it?
He scoffed.
There's no scale around here. I told you, it's 3 tons. Why would I lie? We run an honest business here. You're good to go. When they receive the shipment in Dongguan, they'll weigh it there. If it's over, I'll take the blame.
I hesitated for a moment. I really didn't see any weigh stations nearby. I don't know much about red sandalwood. Maybe those thick ones just looked heavy, but weren't actually that bad. Fine. Sign the contract. I pushed my doubts aside and closed the door. The man in the short-sleeved shirt handed over a crumpled, simple contract. The handwriting was messy. I glanced through it. Shipper, receiver, item description, weight, freight fee, origin, destination. There was a line of fine print at the bottom. Any additional costs incurred during transit shall be borne by the carrier. I looked at that line. Something felt off, but I couldn't figure it out right then. All additional costs, what exactly did that mean? Similar clauses appeared in previous contracts. Usually, it refers to parking fees and loading costs. Nothing major.
You done looking?
He urged.
Sign it if you're done. I've got things to do.
I signed it, took a photo, and tucked the contract away.
Oh, right.
He turned back before leaving.
Be careful on the road. Woman driver, drive slowly. Don't damage my cargo. You won't be able to pay for it.
He had a smile on his face as he spoke, but I felt that beneath that smile, something was hidden. Like a layer of oil floating on water, it looks colorful, but it's filthy underneath. I didn't think much of it. I got in and started the engine, shifted gears, backed up, and left the warehouse park. In the rearview mirror, I saw the man in the short-sleeved shirt standing at the gate, with his hands in his pockets, watching my truck with his head tilted. The worker next to him, Lao Wan, leaned in and said something to him. He laughed. His smile was wide, very blatant, like the look on someone's face when they see a fish take the bait. My heart suddenly tightened, but I was already on the highway. The truck kept moving forward. I couldn't exactly turn back. I tried to reassure myself. Maybe I was just overthinking it. After doing this for so long, it's easy to get paranoid. Once I was on the highway, I headed east. The roads here in Guangxi are rough. Too many mountains and curves. I didn't drive fast. 60 or 70 miles an hour. Nice and steady. Agarwood is precious stuff. Can't have it bouncing around. Can't have it getting bumped. I made sure to line the cargo bed with old tire rubber to absorb the shocks. After driving for most of the day, around 3 in the afternoon, I reached the Pingle service area. I fueled up. I checked the gauge. Still had over half a tank. Enough to make it to Guangdong. I was going to head straight out. But then I thought twice. I pulled into the rest stop anyway. There was a toll booth ahead. I seem to remember there being a permanent weigh station. When I weighed in, the numbers on the digital display made me freeze. Total weight, 13.8 tons. My truck's curb weight is 8.8 tons. 13.8 minus 8.8. Net cargo weight, 5 tons. 5 tons. We agreed on 3 tons. It turned out to be 5. I thought I misread it. I went over the scale again. Still 5 tons. 2 tons over. My hands started to shake. Not from fear, but from pure rage. That man knew from the very start that it would be overloaded. He lied about the weight on purpose. He lowballed the price to 500 on purpose. He wanted me to let my guard down on purpose. While I was loading, he had the workers hide that thick log deep inside on purpose. He knew everything. He wanted me on the road with an illegal load. Then he'd pin all the blame on me. I was still in a daze. The toll booth loudspeaker blared.
Truck U, B8888, overweight. Please pull over for processing.
I pulled over and parked. The transport officers were waiting right there. My legs felt weak as I got out. An officer walked over. He glanced at the weigh slip. Then he looked at my driver's license.
2 tons overweight, an overload rate of 66.7%. That's a 4,500 fine. And 9 points off your license.
4,500. I drive from Guilin to Dongguan, and the freight is only 800. This one fine wipes out 4,500. I'm actually losing 3,700. Officer, the shipper screwed me over. He promised it was only 3 tons.
That's between you and the shipper. Overweight is overweight. The driver is the one responsible.
I opened my mouth, wanting to say something, but I swallowed my words. He was right. No matter what the shipper said, I was the one driving. The penalty for overloading is on me. After paying the fine, and having the points deducted, I sat back in the cab. I felt completely drained. $4,500. I'll have to drive 4 or 5 short hauls to make that back. Those 9 points mean that for this record cycle, I only have 3 points left. 1 more overweight violation, and my license will be downgraded. I took a deep breath. I dialed the cargo owner's number.
Hello?
The voice on the other end was lazy, as if he was sipping tea. There was the sound of cups clinking in the background. Sir, the cargo was overweight. You said 3 tons, but it was actually 5. I just got fined 4,500, and I lost 9 points. There was a second of silence on the other end, then came a laugh. It wasn't the kind of, oh, sorry, I made a mistake laugh. It was more like, how should I put it? Like the satisfied laugh of someone who finally saw you fall into a trap. Women drivers will be.
Women drivers,
He said. His voice was slow, carrying a smugness that made my skin crawl.
the contract states clearly that any additional costs incurred during transport are the driver's responsibility. Who else can you blame if you didn't read it yourself?
My hand was shaking as I held the phone.
Besides, if you can't even inspect the load, you're just stupid. I let you load the truck, and you didn't even bother to weigh it. Is that my fault?
The voice of another man in the background piped up again. This time, I heard him clearly.
Women drivers, right? They're a menace on the road.
They both burst out laughing. I grit my teeth until they began to grind.
Listen to me, driver Lin.
His voice suddenly turned cold, sharp as a blade.
The contract is in black and white. You'd better get that cargo to Dongguan. If you mess with my business, I'll sue you for embezzlement. Mark my words.
The call ended. I sat in the cab, looking at the grey highway ahead. My head was buzzing. The sunset streamed through the windshield, stinging my eyes. But I didn't move. I just sat there, like a piece of bamboo bent by the wind, bent nearly to the breaking point. But bamboo doesn't break. Slowly, inch by inch, I straightened myself back up. I restarted the engine, shifted into gear, pulled out of the rest area, and merged into traffic. I didn't say much along the way, and I didn't listen to music. I just drove in silence. A few words kept looping in my head. The contract. What did it say again? All additional costs incurred during transport shall be borne by the carrier. That's what he wanted me to see. But the contract said something else, too. Description of goods, red sandalwood. Quantity, 3 tons, 3 tons, 3 tons, in black and white. I slowly tightened my lips. From Pingle to Dongguan, it was over 1,000 kilometers. I drove for a day and a night, slept for 4 hours at a rest stop, ate a few cups of instant noodles, and gassed up twice. It was the early hours of May 1st when I reached Dongguan. It was still dark. The recipient was a timber transit warehouse in a suburban logistics park. It was just starting to get light when I arrived. The warehouse doors weren't open yet. I parked on the side of the road and waited for over an hour. Around 7 o'clock, a young guy came to open the gate. He glanced at me and said,
Zaitan shipment?
Yeah.
Unload it.
I opened the truck doors. The workers started unloading, moving the logs one by one. By the time they reached the third one, the thickest log was exposed. The workers struggled quite a bit to finally get it down and stack it on the pallet. I stood aside, watching them work, counting every single log. It took about 40 minutes. When the last few logs were unloaded, a small pile of cargo had formed on the ground. The workers wiped their sweat, getting ready to wrap. Hold up, I said, it's not all unloaded yet. A worker looked up at me.
We're finished. The trailer's empty.
I'm not talking about the trailer, I said. I leaned down and picked up a piece of chalk, drawing a line on the trailer floor. The contract specifies 3 tons. How much did you just unload? The workers looked at each other. Weigh what's already off. There was a floor scale at the warehouse entrance. The workers pushed the pallets onto it. The numbers flashed on the screen. Exactly 3 tons. All right, exactly 3 tons. The remaining 2 tons aren't being unloaded. The workers froze.
What do you mean?
The contract specifies 3 tons of Zaitan wood. I transported 3 tons. I unloaded 3 tons. Job's done. I pulled my phone out of my pocket, pulled up a photo of the contract, and showed it to them. It's in black and white. 3 tons. The extra 2 tons aren't my responsibility. Hearing this, the workers straight up freaked out. They swarmed me, all talking at once, saying they were just employees. If cargo was missing, they couldn't take the fall. I ignored their pleas, walked around to check the door latches, and after confirming they were secure, straight up opened the cab door, climbed into the driver's seat, turned the key, stepped on the gas, and prepared to push through the crowd. I just turned the key. The engine hadn't even warmed up yet, when I heard the sound of an urgent car horn outside. I looked up. A black Mercedes SUV charged in like it was nuts. With a piercing screech of tires, it straight up blocked the front of my car, shutting off the road completely. The door was flung open. That guy in the short-sleeved shirt who loaded the cargo in Gailin rushed out in a rage. Behind him followed 4 burly, well-built men. Each of them was carrying a solid baseball bat, surrounding me aggressively. I recognized him at a glance. It was Lin Qiang.
You bitch. How dare you steal my cargo?
Lin Qiang rushed to my car window and slammed his fist against the glass.
The reinforced glass instantly made a dull, heavy thud. I think you've got a death wish.
The thugs behind him didn't say a word. They raised their baseball bats and started smashing my car window. Bang! After several heavy blows, the window glass cracked instantly, forming dense spiderweb patterns as shards began to fall. The air in the car instantly reached its breaking point. A cold sweat broke out on my back, but my hands steadily pressed the lock, locking all 4 doors tight. I watched Lin Qiang outside, ranting and raving, looking absolutely hideous. I didn't panic at all. Instead, I calmly picked up my phone and dialed 110. Hello, is this 110? At the Dongguan Logistics Park exit, someone is smashing a car with weapons. It's an armed robbery, 4 people in total. I have the license plate, please get here quickly. I hung up the phone and placed it by my side. I just sat in the driver's seat, watching them smash the car like lunatics. I want to see in broad daylight just how far they think they can go. Within 10 minutes, the sound of sirens approached. 2 patrol cars with flashing lights pulled straight into the logistics park. As the blinding police lights flashed, the thugs who were just smashing the truck stopped immediately. Panicked, they hid their baseball bats behind their backs. The officers hopped out of their cars and shouted,
Stop right there. What's going on here?
When Lin Qiang saw the police, his face instantly changed. His previous aggression vanished in a second, replaced by a look of victimized outrage. He wrung his hands and hurried toward them, his acting worthy of an award.
Officers, thank God you're here. You have to do something about this crooked driver.
Lin Qiang pointed at my truck, raising his voice.
My sandalwood is worth millions. She won't finish unloading it, and now she's trying to drive off. This is highway robbery. She's stealing my property.
The officer frowned and looked at me, gesturing for me to get out and explain. I pulled the key from the ignition, stepped out of the cab, holding the contract, the overweight citation, and the weigh-in slip. I spoke clearly and firmly. Officers, that's not what happened. I laid out the documents one by one. The contract clearly states that he's shipping 3 tons of sandalwood. In accordance with the contract, I unloaded exactly 3 tons. Here's the weigh-in slip. The remaining 2 tons on the truck aren't listed in the contract. I wasn't paid to transport them, so they aren't part of the shipment. How can that be theft? Furthermore, he lied about the weight. He claimed 5 tons was only 3, which caused me to be cited for an overweight load. I was fined $4,500 and got 9 points on my license. This is fraud. Hearing this, Lin Qiang lost it.
That's bullshit. Anything on that truck belongs to me. Don't play word games with me. Officers, she's just making up excuses.
The officer looked over the paperwork, and his expression soured.
All right, knock it off. Everyone's coming down to the station. We'll take statements and sort this out.
At the police station's mediation room, Lin Qiang fully revealed his scoundrel nature. He sat down heavily in the chair, crossing his legs. He tore out the liability waiver from the contract and slammed it onto the table.
Officer, look here. Article 9 is crystal clear. All losses and extra expenses during transit are to be borne by the driver himself. He was too blind to read the contract, and now he wants to withhold my cargo to blackmail me. Not a chance.
Looking at his smug face, I retorted coldly. Extra expenses? Does that include for free hauling an extra 2 tons of cargo? You intentionally hid the weight and set me up to be overloaded. Fines and license points, that's called fraud, not extra expenses. Lin Qiang was left speechless by my talking back, his face turning pale and then flushed. He suddenly slammed the table. Stop talking nonsense.
I think you're just trying to steal my multi-million-dollar shipment. After a long mediation,
the police finally reached a conclusion.
This is a contractual economic dispute. There's no evidence of a criminal offense, so we won't be filing a case. You can take it to court if there's a dispute. The truck will be impounded here until the investigation is complete. Hearing there would be no charges.
He instantly became even more arrogant. He lit a cigarette right in front of the officer and leaned in close to me. He blew the smoke right in my face, his eyes contemptuous and malicious.
A legal illiterate bottom-tier hauler like you, thinking you can play games with contracts against me. It serves you right that you'll spend your whole life working for pennies. Let me tell you, it's better if the truck is impounded. If you don't obediently hand over those 2 tons of cargo, I'll make sure you can't move an inch in Dongguan. I clenched my fists and didn't argue with him.
Simply and quietly recording every single word he said. By the time I walked out of the station, it was already midnight. I was forced to hand over the keys, and the truck I depended on for my livelihood was impounded at the station gate, like a tethered beast. The late autumn night wind was bone-chilling. I was carrying the thermos I'd used for 3 years, standing alone by the roadside, looking like someone the whole world had given up on. Not far away, Lin Qiang's Mercedes was parked in the shadows. He rolled down the window, gave me a mad disrespectful middle finger, then floored the gas and sped away. I found the cheapest budget hotel on the corner for $30 a night. The room was cramped and damp, and the bed was rock hard. I just lay down when my phone started vibrating like crazy. A system notification popped up that made my blood run cold. Your freight platform account is suspected of cargo theft and is now permanently banned. Your deposit is frozen for investigation. I bolted upright and tapped the app with trembling fingers. Lin Qiang used his diamond tier status to report me for stealing high-value cargo. I've spent 3 years driving night shifts, working myself to the bone. The $80,000 I saved for my deposit is now completely frozen. That was the money I saved to renovate my mum's house back home. It was everything I had. Then a message popped up. It was from Lin Qiang, an electronic legal notice demanding compensation for lost wages and breach of contract, totaling $250,000. He even sent a voice note, his voice dripping with an uncontrollable, sick excitement.
Female drivers are such trash. I tried being nice, but you blew it. Think you can hold my cargo? Think you can run? Now your account's gone, your money's frozen, and your truck's seized. How are you going to fight me? Just hand over the goods and beg for my forgiveness. I might consider letting that slide.
I gritted my teeth and didn't reply, suppressing my rage. I opened the platform's appeal page. I uploaded the weight tickets, loading photos, delivery logs, and contract photos one by one. I carefully filled out 3 pages of appeal documents. But I underestimated the power of corporate greed. In less than 5 minutes, the appeal was rejected. The platform even added a warning: deliver the goods within 3 days, or you'll be blacklisted from the credit bureau. They didn't even look at the evidence. They only side with their big clients. I hadn't even caught my breath yet. My phone started blowing up. Verification code texts kept pouring in. Unknown calls were coming in one after another. I opened the National Logistics group chat. Everything went dark the moment I saw it. Lin Qiang had posted both sides of my ID, my license plate, and my home address. He posted everything to the group. He even added a maliciously edited audio clip that twisted the facts. The group chat lit up instantly. A bunch of male drivers who already looked down on female drivers started joining in on the abuse. Every word rubbed salt in my wound. This female has lost her mind. How dare she steal millions worth of cargo? Female drivers are just greedy and have no conscience. Why are women even in the shipping business? Just go home and have kids. I gripped my phone, my knuckles turning white. I fought the urge to smash it. I took a deep breath and called Lin Qiang. It picked up after 3 rings. Lin Qiang, those extra 2 tons of red sandalwood were never listed on the manifest. What exactly are you trying to do? There was a second of silence on the other end, and then he straight up hung up. When I called back, the automated voice told me, the number you are calling is currently busy. He blocked me. Early the next morning, I took all my printed documents to the local Department of Transportation to file a complaint. I stood in line for 2 full hours. It was finally my turn. The clerk behind the glass glanced briefly at my papers and waved me off impatiently.
Overloading is a police matter. Contract disputes are a legal issue. Account bans are an internal company matter. None of this is under our jurisdiction. Next.
The documents were pushed back out to me. Every door seemed to be slamming shut in my face. I stood in the crowded lobby, feeling cold all over. But I didn't have the slightest thought of giving up. I can be bullied, but I won't admit defeat. Just as I stepped out of the office, my phone suddenly rang. It was an unknown number. I answered. From the other end, came Lin Qiang's arrogant and malicious laughter.
Having a rough time, Lin Wanxing? Account banned, deposit gone, and your truck's impounded. It's time to cave in. Final ultimatum: get the truck out in 3 hours, and deliver those 2 tons of sandalwood to the Yunding private warehouse in the suburbs. If you're 1 second late, I'll turn that demand letter into a criminal indictment. I'll put you in prison for 10 years.
He paused, and sent a photo. I opened it, and the blood rushed to my head instantly. The photo shows my father on his e-bike. He's at the hardware store by the village entrance. Next to him is a yellow-haired street trash following him. He's staring at him with a sinister look. Lin Qiang's voice message came through right after. His tone was as cold as a viper.
See this? This is your father. If you don't hand over the goods, the next photo won't just be of his back. I'm sure you don't want your father, at his age, to be terrified because of you.
I gripped my phone. My nails dug deep into my palm, drawing blood. The pain was piercing, but it was nothing compared to the coldness in my heart. That animal. He's actually using my father to threaten me. I stayed silent for 3 seconds. My voice was ice cold. Lin Qiang, you better pray you never fall into my hands. I straight up hung up the phone after that. I called my father back immediately. I faked being calm to reassure him, telling him to lock the doors. Don't go out. Don't talk to anyone. Then I transferred 2,000 to the village chief. I asked him to find some young guys to help look out for my father's safety. After doing all that, I walked into a nearby internet cafe. I turned on a computer. I pulled out a tiny memory card hidden in my pocket. This was from the hidden dashcam I'd installed inside the cargo container. To prevent fuel theft and unauthorized unloading, I wired it myself. No one knew about it. I insert the memory card into the reader. I open the video. The footage clearly shows the workers loading the truck in Guilin. Lin Qiang personally directed the workers to hide those 2 tons of heavy red sandalwood deep inside the cargo container, capturing the entire process of him intentionally concealing the weight. At the same time, I looked up the regulations on red sandalwood. A shocking truth surfaced. Those extra 2 tons have no legal source. They're Class 2 protected plants. Lin Qiang didn't just overload the truck. He's smuggling endangered timber. I finally understand why he was so desperate to force me to deliver and why he's been so arrogant. I pull out the memory card. I rush out of the internet cafe. I hail a cab and head straight to the police station. It happens to be during the shift change. I present the release application and vehicle registration. The officer confirms there's no criminal case filed after checking. He lets me take the truck.
You can take the truck. Don't get into any more trouble.
Thank you, officer. I climb into the cab. The familiar feel immediately puts me at ease. I turn the key. The engine gives a steady roar. In the rearview mirror, a black Toyota quietly follows. It's Lin Chiang's men. They want to tail me to the private warehouse. I jerk the steering wheel and head straight in another direction. Meanwhile, I call Lin Chiang. I put him on speaker.
Have you come around, Lin Wangxing?
I'm almost there.
Smart move. When you arrive, kneel for half an hour and apologize.
I slam on the brakes. The truck comes to a steady stop. Dust kicks up behind the truck. That Toyota doesn't dare follow. It can only stop across the road. Lin Chiang, I've arrived. But not at your warehouse. The moment I pushed the car door open, cold wind rushed into my collar, yet I felt more clear-headed than ever. I gripped that ID card and memory card tightly. The plastic edges dug deep into the palm of my hand, causing a sharp pain. I didn't look back as I strode into the forestry inspection station. Those gates, grave and almost solemn, stood before me as I felt the weight of startled gazes. I heard my own voice erupting in the empty hall. Officer, I want to report this vehicle under my real name. It's illegally transporting undocumented, endangered red sandalwood, 2 full tons, with no proof of legal origin. My phone vibrated frantically in my pocket. Lin Chiang's voice sounded distorted and ragged on the other end, like a beast backed into a corner roaring in despair.
You've lost it. Do you have any idea what you're saying?
I didn't say a word. I just pressed down hard and hung up. Then I turned the whole world completely to airplane mode. The click of the seals being placed on the truck door was more powerful than any words. 10 minutes later, the heavy cargo container was pried open in public. When that thick, dust-covered canvas was suddenly ripped away, the midday sun poured in like a tide. That deep, oppressive purplish red finally revealed its true form in the light. A faint, cold scent of wood immediately filled the air. An expert pushed up his glasses, his voice ringing clearly through the silent inspection area. Aside from the outer 3 tons that have paperwork, the inner 2 tons are high-grade red sandalwood without legal origin. They are Class 2 key protected wild plants. I stood outside the blue and white cordon, watching that truck, laden with greed and shackles, as it was seized by the law. Amidst this solemn intersection of woody fragrance and justice, I finally heard the sound of my own soul breaking free. After I finished my statement, I found a motel nearby. I locked the door and pulled the curtains, and finally got some real sleep. The resentment I'd been holding for 2 days was finally out of my system. I woke up in the evening. I turned off airplane mode, and my phone was instantly bombarded with dozens of texts and missed calls. They were all from Lin Chiang. I answered the phone. Immediately, Lin Chiang's voice came through, begging and sobbing. His previous arrogance was completely gone.
Wangxing, sis, I was wrong. I was really wrong. Please go to the inspection station and speak for me. Just say it was a misunderstanding. I'll withdraw the legal notice right away. I'll double your deposit refund. I'll pay you another 50,000. No, 100,000. If this shipment is seized, I'll go broke. I'm begging you.
Weren't you going to scare my dad to death?
I was full of it. I have a big mouth. I'm an idiot. Sis, please, show some mercy.
I told you what would happen if you fell into my hands. I straight up hung up. Meanwhile, the Forestry Bureau officially summoned Lin Chiang to explain the source of the timber. I imagine Lin Chiang must be panicking like a maniac right now. He's pulling some strings and looking for fixes to get his trucks released. But the inspection station had already received orders to follow the law to the letter. No favors would be granted to anyone. Standing by the window of the guest house, I watched the traffic passing below. I knew very well that Lin Chiang was at a dead end, and the people behind him would never take matters into their own hands to save him. Early the next morning, I went to the inspection station to submit the remaining documents. As I reached the entrance, a disheveled man lunged at me. It was Lin Chiang. His hair was a mess, his face was covered in stubble, and his eyes were bloodshot. His clothes were as wrinkled as a rag. Gone was his previous arrogant appearance. He was clutching a craft paper bag tightly. It was filled with cash.
Sister Xing, I'm begging you. Here's 100,000. Take it and stay hush for me. Just say you forgot the paperwork. I'll give you the green. I'll give you work.
I looked at him coldly. I waved my hand. With a slap, the paper bag fell to the ground. The seal split open. Stacks of $100 bills scattered everywhere, blowing all over the place. Your money is too filthy. It's too hot for me to handle. I pointed at the national emblem on the station building. Aren't contracts your fave thing to talk about? Didn't you call me legally illiterate? If you're so tough, go talk to the national emblem. Lin Chiang's face twisted instantly. Shamed into a rage, he yelled.
You ungrateful little bitch. I'll spend 500,000 to hire someone to cripple you. I'll make you spend the rest of your life in bed. Do you believe me?
Without expression, I took a step back and raised my phone. I aimed the camera at him, clearly recording all of his threats and madness. Every word you just said, I've recorded it all. The people nearby began to gather around. They were pointing and whispering. They cast looks of disdain at Lin Qiang. When Lin Qiang saw he was being recorded, especially right in front of the police station, his face instantly turned pale with fear. He covered his face, not even daring to pick up the money on the ground. Like a stray dog, he fled in a panic. In the chaos, his phone fell out of his pocket. The screen was lit, and an unsent message popped up. Boss, I can't take this anymore. Please protect my family. I won't say a word. And right above that message was the cold, chilling reply his boss had sent just minutes ago. Handle it yourself. Don't drag me into this. If you open your mouth, remember where your family is and if they're safe. Think about it. There wasn't a single curse word, yet every word was a deadly threat. I watched it all unfold silently, my heart sinking. So someone really was pulling the strings, but I didn't dare say anything. A truck driver like me shouldn't go looking for trouble. I looked away, stepped over the money all over the ground, and walked into the lobby with my head held high. I took the video of Lin Qiang threatening a witness and obstructing justice, and submitted it all to the police. That video straight up changed the nature of the case. It went from a contract dispute to criminal intimidation and obstruction of justice. In less than half a day, Lin Qiang's bank accounts were frozen by the police. The person behind him completely abandoned him. To save their own ass, they stopped sending him any messages at all. Lin Qiang was now all alone, backed into a corner. At 6 p.m., 2 police cars pulled up to Lin Qiang's residence. He was arrested on the spot for suspected illegal business operations, attempted extortion, and witness tampering. He was handcuffed and taken away. At the precinct, while I was giving my witness statement, I saw Lin Qiang keeping his head down the entire time. No matter what the police asked, he kept his teeth grit and didn't say a word. His eyes were filled with fear and resignation. I suddenly remembered the phone he dropped this morning, that unsent message, and his earlier desperation. He was being blackmailed with his family, so he had to take the fall for everything. In the end, Lin Qiang grit his teeth and admitted defeat. Without saying a word, he took the blame for everything. I look at the case filing notice from the police. I don't feel the thrill of payback, just a sense of peace. The highway fines were dismissed. The 9 points on my license were cleared. The freight platform unblocked my account overnight. The $80,000 deposit was refunded in full. They even paid an extra $100,000 in compensation. All the grievances, the injustice, and the stigma, everything has been wiped clean. I won. But something feels off. Lin Qiang is just a low-level errand boy. Why would he dare to smash the car, threaten me, and harass me online? He even got my family's private information and used them to threaten me. Who was standing up for him? That shipment of smuggled red sandalwood, who the hell did it belong to? Too many questions weigh on my mind, but I don't want to dig any deeper. I just want to get home to spend a peaceful mid-autumn festival with my parents. When I stepped out of the police station, it was already 6 in the evening. The sunset painted the whole street orange, warm and glowing, like the salted egg yolks my mum makes. I stretched on the steps, finally feeling like I'd come back to life. I packed my things, got into the driver's seat, turned the key, and prepared for the drive home. Lin Qiang was arrested. My account was unbanned. The deposit was refunded. The fines were dismissed. The points were cleared. Everything has finally settled. I can finally go home. I get into the driver's seat, turn the key. The moment the engine roared to life, I almost burst into tears. This car has been with me for 3 years. It's been with me for over 200,000 kilometers. Through heavy rain, thick fog, mountain landslides, and highway closures, it's never left me stranded. It hung in there this time, too, just like how I've hung in there all those times over the past 3 years. The car stereo starts playing the song I didn't finish last time. It's one of those old-fashioned folk songs my dad loved when he was young. I hummed along for a bit. I was way out of tune, but I felt amazing. The GPS shows from Dongguan to my hometown is 640 kilometers. It usually takes about 8 hours. I did the math. If I drive through the night, I'll be home by 2 a.m. just in time for breakfast on Mid-Autumn Festival. My mum makes such a feast for breakfast. Plain porridge with side dishes, fried dough sticks, steamed sweet potatoes, and her homemade salted duck eggs. They're all perfectly rich and oily. Just thinking about it is making my stomach growl. I rolled down the window, letting the night breeze in to blow away all the mess and the bad luck. In the rearview mirror, the police station sign faded into the distance. Lin Qiang's Mercedes was still parked in the lot. He probably won't be driving it ever again. Serves him right. I hit the highway, heading west. I've driven the G80 Guangcun Expressway countless times. I know every pothole, which rest stop has the cheapest noodles, and which gas station has the best fuel. I could tell you with my eyes closed. I crossed the human bridge before dark. The cargo ships on the river blared their horns as if they were greeting me. When you're in a good mood, everything looks better, but I celebrated too soon. After the Guangzhou Ring Road, at night, on the G55 Airguang Expressway, it was pitch black. I glanced at the rearview mirror and noticed a silver grey van following me. It kept a steady distance, about 200 meters back. I didn't think much of it. It's normal to head the same way on the highway. But 20 kilometers later, I changed lanes, and it followed. I moved back, and it followed again. My heart skipped a beat. No way. Isn't Lin Qiang already behind bars? I tell myself it might be a coincidence. There's only one main road here, and they're also heading north. But my hands have already tightened around the wheel. I press harder on the gas. The speed goes from 80 to 100, then to 110. The van speeds up too, staying exactly 200 meters behind. No overtaking, no closing in. It just trails me at a steady pace, like a snake flicking its tongue, watching from the shadows. I'm starting to sweat. My shirt is sticking to the seat, all sticky. I reach out and crank up the AC a notch. The cold air hits my forehead, but I can't shake the restlessness inside. I pull out my phone and call my dad. It rings 3 times before he picks up. Dad, are you home?
I'm here, watching TV with your mom.
My dad's voice is steady, with that not my first rodeo kind of chill.
Where are you?
I've passed Guangzhou, heading north. I should be home around 2 a.m. I hang up. I check the rearview mirror again. The van is still there. Maybe I'm just overthinking it. When you've been in this business long enough, it's easy to get paranoid. I take a deep breath, deciding not to deal with it anymore. I switch on my blinker, preparing to take the next exit. I'll take another route. It's a bit of a detour, but I'll feel better. At the very moment I turn the wheel, bang, there's a loud crash. Something slams into the windshield. I flinch instinctively, almost losing my grip on the wheel. The truck swerves. I grip the steering wheel tight, steadying the truck. I slam the brakes to slow down. On the windshield, a dark mass is stuck to the glass. Blood is oozing down, looking gruesome under the lights. It's a bird, a huge bird, maybe a night heron or something. It hit the glass, and its neck is broken. Its body is still twitching. Its feathers are covered in blood. I'm so shaken. My heart is nearly jumping out of my chest. My hands are shaking uncontrollably. I've been driving for 3 years, and I've had birds hit the glass before, but never one this big, and never at such a strange time. Just as I'm about to slow down and pull over, several beams of light flash in the rearview mirror. 3 cars flank me from behind at once. A silver grey van, the one that's been tailing me, cuts in on my right, blocking my way to the shoulder. A black SUV is right on my tail. Its front is practically touching my truck's rear. Its high beams are on, blinding me through the mirrors. There's also a white car zipping up from the left lane, driving right alongside me. The window rolls down, and a guy with a buzz cut sticks his head out. He shouts something at me. I instinctively slow down, trying to create some distance. But as soon as I let off the gas, the SUV behind me slows down too, staying glued to my rear. The van on the right also edges closer to me. It's so close I can see the driver's face. A man in his 40s, with a cigarette in his mouth. He looks nonchalant, like he's just out for a stroll. My heart is racing. My mind is spinning. They're after me. But who did I piss off? Wasn't Lin Qiang already arrested? The white car suddenly speeds up, swerves in front of me, and then slams on the brakes. It catches me off guard. I hit the brakes hard. The front of the truck dips, and everything in the back rattles. The SUV behind me also slams its brakes. The tires let out a piercing screech on the pavement. With less than half a meter to spare, it nearly rear-ended me. I froze in my seat. Cold sweat drenched my back. The white sedan in front slowed down again. It was crawling like a snail, doing 40 or 50 in the fast lane. I was forced to slow down too. The cars behind me started honking. A semi-truck's air horn sent a ringing through my ears. I flicked on my left signal. I tried to pull out and pass, but as soon as I moved, the van on the right swerved toward me. It blocked my path. I tried going right, but the car on the left was coming at me. This wasn't an accident. This was a hunt. I gritted my teeth. My hands gripped the steering wheel tight. My nails were digging into the leather. I need to stay calm. I can't panic. If I panic, I'll fall right into their trap. Just then, the white sedan in front suddenly jerked to the left and slammed on the brakes. I didn't even have time to react. Bang! The front of my car lightly tapped its rear. It really was just a light tap. I felt the bumpers just graze each other. It barely even made a sound.
Hey, genius, watch where you're going. You hit me. My neck is broken.
He clutched his neck, looking like he'd been run over by a truck, but his eyes were sharp as a tack, showing no sign of pain at all. I sat in the driver's seat, watching his performance. My heart went cold. A scam. A total setup. The SUV and the van behind them stopped as well. 3 or 4 people got out of the cars. They surrounded me, all talking at once. Someone banged on my car door. Someone crouched down to check the scene. Someone held up a phone to record, shouting that a woman driver hit someone. Everyone, come look. I pulled the handbrake. I pushed the door open.
You hit me. I can't move my neck. You're responsible for this.
The crew cut guy clutched his neck. He was loud enough for the whole highway to hear. I didn't hit you. I tried to keep my voice steady. You suddenly changed lanes and slammed on the brakes. My dashcam caught the whole thing.
You still say you didn't hit me.
The crew cut guy rushed at me. His finger almost poked my face.
Look at this. My rear end is dented.
I looked down at the back of that small white car. There was a tiny dent on the bumper. It was about the size of a coin. You couldn't even see it if you weren't looking closely. But on my front end, there wasn't even a scratch on the bumper. This is an old mark.
I didn't do this.
Bullshit, you definitely hit me. The crew cut guy's accomplices started jeering.
Call the police. Call the police. Let the cops handle it.
Someone was already on their phone. They were being loud.
Intentionally letting me hear. Hello, 110? There's been an accident on the Erguan Expressway at marker K235. Someone's injured. Get here fast.
I stood in the night wind, looking at the crowd. Suddenly, I felt exhausted. I just left the police station, less than 3 hours ago, and I'm headed back in, but I knew I couldn't panic. I turned on my hazards, took the warning triangle from the car, and placed it 100 meters back. It's the protocol. Whether they're scammers or not, I have to follow procedure. Less than 20 minutes later, the highway patrol arrived. A patrol car with flashing lights pulled over on the shoulder. 2 officers got out, one young, one older. The younger officer held a body cam. The older officer scanned the scene, his brow furrowing.
Who called it in?
I did.
The guy with the buzz cut approached him, clutching his neck. His voice sounded like he was about to cry.
Officer, this woman rear-ended me. My neck is hurt, my head is spinning, and it might be a concussion.
The older officer glanced at him, then at where the cars collided. He walked up to me.
You were the rear vehicle?
Yes.
You rear-ended him?
He suddenly cut into my lane and slammed on the brakes. I have a dashcam in the car. I can pull up the footage. The older officer nodded, then checked the rear of the other car again. He leaned in to look at the dent, then stood up. He looked at the guy, then back at me. I understood that look. He didn't believe him. After years on the force, he'd seen plenty of scammers. He knew all their tricks. But the guy with the buzz cut wouldn't let it go. He sat on the ground, clutching his neck, moaning and groaning. His buddies gathered around, all talking at once.
I saw her hit him with my own eyes. She wasn't paying attention. You know how female drivers are, typical.
The younger officer started taking photos, sketching the scene, and recording information. The older officer pulled me aside, asking in a low voice.
You driving alone?
Yeah.
Where are you coming from?
Dongguan.
And heading where?
Back to my hometown for the Mid-Autumn Festival. He went silent for a moment, glanced at the group, then back at me.
These people, do you know them?
No, but I've been on the road for nearly 200 kilometers, and that van has been following me the whole time. I lowered my voice for that last part. The older traffic cop, his frown deepened. He said nothing. He turned and walked over to the man with the buzz cut. He looked at the dent on the rear again. Then he stood up. His voice wasn't loud.
But it was clear. There's rust on the edges of this dent. This didn't happen today.
The buzz cut man's expression shifted. But he quickly clutched his neck and started shouting again.
But my neck really is hurt. I'm dizzy. I need to go to the hospital.
Fine, go get a checkup. You pay the medical fees up front. We'll talk after the accident report is finalized.
Why should I pay up front? She's the one who hit me.
The accident is still under investigation. Liability hasn't been determined yet. If you think the injury is serious, I'll call an ambulance right now.
The man with the buzz cut opened his mouth. He said nothing. His accomplices started trying to smooth things over.
Forget it, forget it. It's the holidays. Let's just drop it. Just pay us some money and call it a day.
Right, just some money. We'll go to the hospital ourselves. 5,000. 5,000 will do.
I watched them. I sneered inwardly. After nearly an hour of haggling, from 5,000 down to 3,000, from 3,000 down to 1,000. Finally, the officer made the call.
The accident report isn't out yet. If you want to settle this privately, sign an agreement.
The buzz cut man nodded reluctantly. He took the $1,000 I handed him. He was still muttering.
Just my luck, getting hit during the holidays.
His accomplices put away their phones. They got into the car and sped off. The whole process was seamless. Perfectly coordinated. Clearly, they were pros. I stood by the car, watching their taillights vanish into the night. My hands were still shaking, not because of fear, but because of anger. I knew they did it on purpose, but I had no proof. The dashcam. It did capture him cutting me off and slamming the brakes. But a rear-end collision is a rear-end collision. The car behind is always at a disadvantage. The older officer walked over. He handed back my driver's license. He whispered,
Miss, you've offended someone.
I froze for a moment. What do you mean?
These people aren't your typical scammers.
He pointed in the direction where the buzzcut man had disappeared.
They're targeting you. It's not about the money. $1,000. Split 4 ways. That's only $250 each. It's not worth the trouble for them.
My heart sank instantly.
They were coming for you. Be careful on the road.
With that, he turned and got into the patrol car. He drove off with his lights flashing. They're coming at me, but Lin Chiang is already behind bars. Who else is out to get me? I turned to get in the car. Out of the corner of my eye, my gaze followed where the van had disappeared. Then I saw it. That silver-grey van. It had come back without me noticing, parked on the shoulder 200 meters away. No hazard lights on, just sitting there quietly. The window was down. The driver, cigarette in mouth, was leaning back in his seat, watching me with his head tilted. A smirk played on his lips. I've seen that smile before. When Lin Chiang finished loading to take me out, he had that same look. It wasn't a friendly smile. It wasn't a smug one, either. It was that it figures, you took the bait smile. Like a hunter watching his mark step into a trap. It was a look of pure satisfaction. The tailing, the scam, the handling of the accident, it was all part of their game plan. And I, like a puppet, played my part step by step. I stared at that smile for 3 seconds, and my blood ran cold. Then I pulled the door open, got in, started the engine, and floored it. I didn't want to see his face again, but I knew he'd be following me in a sec. It figures. Less than 2 minutes later, those 2 headlights appeared in my rearview mirror again, steady and calm, following me like a shadow. I drove for over 10 kilometers with my teeth clenched, my mind a complete mess. Who the hell are they? Why are they stalking me? Didn't Lin Chiang already confess? I glanced at the dashboard. Enough fuel. Road conditions are okay. There's a tunnel 3 kilometers ahead, no emergency lanes inside, and poor cell signal. My mind raced, and I had an idea. Once inside the tunnel, I swerved suddenly into the right lane, then slammed on the brakes. The van behind me was caught off guard, braking hard as well. The tires let out a piercing screech in the tunnel, echoing for several seconds. I didn't stop. Taking advantage of the moment he slowed down, I swerved back to the left lane, and slammed the brakes again. This time he was ready, but the tunnel was dim. He didn't dare get too close. My 2 sudden stops sent him into a panic. The car swerved twice, nearly scraping the tunnel wall. I heard from behind a sharp honk of the horn. Then the van slowed down abruptly, putting nearly 500 meters between us. I didn't look back, but I saw his hazard lights flashing in the rearview mirror as he slowly pulled into the right lane. I knew this little hack wouldn't hurt him, but at least it let him know I'm no pushover. After exiting the tunnel, it was pitch black. I thought he might back off, but less than 5 minutes later, the car was tailing me again. And this time, it was even closer, barely 50 meters behind me. The high beams shone directly into the cabin, blinding me. I was about to speed up to lose him, when my phone suddenly vibrated. It was the guy with the crew cut calling. I hesitated for a moment, then answered.
Master Lin, what was that back in the tunnel? We're following you out of kindness, worried about you driving alone at night, and yet, you repay our kindness like this.
The crew cut guy's voice was lazy, but it had a chilling edge. What exactly do you want?
Nothing, we just want to be friends.
He laughed.
But those 2 sudden brakes you pulled really spooked my buddy. He's been driving all day and he's tired.
If he's tired, then stop following me, he said.
The Xianging rest area is 3 kilometers ahead. We're going in to take a break. You should join us. Don't be in such a rush. It's the holidays. Safety first.
Thanks for the concern. I'm not tired, so I'll keep going.
Don't do that.
His voice suddenly changed. It was no longer lazy, but cold and commanding.
Master Lin, when we invite you, you'd better show up. If you don't, we'll just have to visit your house to make friends.
He hung up. My body went stiff as I stared at the sign for Xianggang Rest Area, 2 kilometers. My chest tightened. They weren't actually tired, they were trying to stall me. But what could I do? If I didn't go, there was no guarantee. They wouldn't do something to my parents. I took a deep breath, hit the turn signal, followed the van, and turned into the rest area. The Xianggang Rest Area was large. The parking lot was filled with plenty of trucks and cars. The van found a spot near the edge and parked. The crew cut guy and the driver with the cigarette got out. 2 other men climbed out from the back seat. It was still those same 4 guys. They leaned against the car, watching me park, then slowly walked toward the main building. I followed behind with clenched fists, anxious and furious. The main hall was brightly lit, with a cafeteria, a convenience store, and restrooms. Once they entered the hall, they split up. Buzzcut had a cigarette in his mouth. He strolled into the restroom. The driver walked up to the counter, slowly looked at the menu, started chatting with the server.
Is this fish fresh? How long will it take? 20 minutes. Fine. I'll take an order.
The other two. One went to the convenience store. One was smoking by the door. I stood in the middle of the hall, watching them take their sweet time. I was fuming. I checked the time on my phone. Since we got to the rest area, it's already been 15 minutes. 15 minutes. My parents are still waiting for me. I walked up to the counter. The driver with the cigarette was sitting there with his legs crossed. There was tea on the table. He was sipping it slowly. How much longer are you going to rest? I asked, holding back my anger. He looked up at me. His lips curled into a smirk.
What's the rush? Anyone on a long haul knows. You have to rest when you're tired. Otherwise, accidents happen. We're doing this for your own good.
Don't you worry about it. With that, I was about to leave, but the other two blocked me. Buzzcut pointed to the empty seat.
Come on, sit down and have some tea. The fish will be ready real quick. Let's eat together.
I'm not eating. He laughed.
Then wait for us to finish. We'll leave as soon as we're done. It won't take long.
Over the next 40 minutes, Buzzcut kept going in and out of the restroom. 3 or 4 times back and forth. Who knows if it was a weak bladder or just on purpose. The one who went to the store circled the aisles 3 times, finally bought a bag of sunflower seeds, 2 bottles of water and a loaf of bread. When he checked out, he even chatted with the cashier. Then the 4 of them gathered in the restaurant, waiting for the fish to be served, eating slowly, chatting while they ate, laughing loudly, like they were on a road trip, not on a job. I stood by, digging my nails into my palms. Finally, they finished the fish. Buzzcut wiped his mouth. He stood up, stretched, and said,
Let's go. Don't keep Master Lin waiting.
I thought we were finally leaving, but when they reached the store entrance, Buzzcut suddenly stopped. He looked back at the shelves, and said thoughtfully,
Oh, right, aren't we going to visit Master Lin? It wouldn't be right to show up empty-handed.
The other 3 exchanged glances and laughed.
Right, we should buy something. What should we get?
Milk is good. Seniors drink milk.
How about a crate of milk?
The 4 of them, chatting and laughing, headed back into the supermarket. I stood there on the spot, trembling all over. They're going to my house as guests. They planned this all along. They aren't just following me, they're following me home. My mind exploded with a roar. I rushed into the supermarket. The guy with the crew cut was standing by the shelves. He picked up a crate of milk, checked the expiration date, put it down, and picked up another, slowly comparing them. Don't you dare set foot in my house. My voice was shaking. Crew cut turned to look at me with that bone-chilling smile.
Mr. Lin, that's not a very nice thing to say. As friends, we're just seeing you home, and we'll drop by to visit your parents. Isn't that what friends do? Don't worry, we won't show up empty-handed. See, this crate of milk looks good.
He held up a crate of milk and inspected it under the light as if it was some precious treasure. Then he put it back down. Never mind, this brand isn't good, let me look some more. He picked up another crate, then put it back, over and over, dragging it out for 10 minutes. Finally, he chose 2 crates of milk, a bag of fruit, and a box of tea. At the checkout, he even had the cashier put it in a gift bag and tie a bow on it. Holding the gift bag, his eyes narrowed into slits as he smiled. This looks much better. Can't be too cheap for the first visit. I clenched my fists until my knuckles turned white. Finally, they finished stalling and got in the car. They started the engine. I followed them out of the rest area and back onto the highway. I didn't want to deal with them anymore. If they want to follow, let them. If they want to block me, let them. As long as my car can move, I'll keep driving, all the way home, all the way until I face them. But I didn't realize they still had cards to play. Less than 10 kilometers from the rest area, the tire pressure light on the dashboard suddenly flashed. The right rear tire pressure was dropping fast. My head started spinning. The tire was punctured. It wasn't a blowout, it was a slow leak, like someone used something to precisely puncture a tiny hole. The pressure was dropping bit by bit. It wasn't sudden, but it was steady. By the time you notice, it's already too late. My first instinct was to pull over, but that van immediately cut me off, blocking my path to the shoulder. They wouldn't let me stop. They wanted me to keep driving, until the tire was completely flat, until it blew out at high speed. I gritted my teeth, slowed down, and turned on my hazards. No matter how the van tried to crowd me, I just slowly, steadily moved toward the shoulder. The van squeezed me from the right for several seconds, but finally gave way. If he'd kept it up, he would have crashed himself. I parked on the shoulder, set the handbrake, and left the hazards on. I got out to check. On the side of the rear right tire, there was an inconspicuous little hole, about the size of a pinhole. Air was hissing out of it. It was sabotaged. My heart sank. Suddenly, it clicked. I didn't pick it up on the road. They did this at the rest area, while I was held up in the lobby. While my car was parked alone in the corner, they made their move. A tiny pinhole, a slow leak. By the time you realize it, you've already driven over 10 kilometers. I punched the side of the car. The metal made a dull thud. It hurt, but not as much as my heart did. That van stopped too. It stopped 50 meters behind me. The guy with the buzz cut rolled down the window. He poked his head out. With fake concern, he said,
"Driver Lynn, what's up? Car trouble?"
I ignored him. Oh.
A flat tire.
He couldn't hide the smirk in his voice.
It's late at night, and we're in the middle of nowhere. A woman all alone. It's pretty dangerous.
His buddies burst out laughing inside the van. I pulled out my phone. I opened the map to search for a nearby repair shop. The closest one was 3 kilometers away by the toll exit. It was called Old Joe's Auto Repair. There weren't many reviews, but someone commented that the owner was honest. I gave them a call. It rang several times before someone picked up. "Hello, boss, my car is on the highway. The back right tire is flat. Can you come tow it?"
I can't tow from the highway. You have to call roadside assistance to get it down.
The owner's voice was raspy, sounding half asleep. I hung up, then I called roadside assistance. I waited 20 minutes before the tow truck arrived. It towed my car off the highway. The van followed us the whole way, keeping its distance, like a vulture following its mark. Off the highway, turned onto a county road. It figures there'd be a repair shop by the road. A crooked sign read, "Joe's Auto Repair," a corrugated metal shack. It was packed with tires inside, parts, and all kinds of nameless machines. The lighting was dim, and the floor was covered in oil. The air smelled of rubber and diesel. It was a big place, but cluttered. A few totaled cars were parked in the corner. Tools lined the walls, and wrenches were scattered on the ground with jacks and old tires. A man in his 50s crawled out from under a car. He wore greasy coveralls with a face full of stubble, but his eyes were sharp. He glanced at my car, then at the van following behind. He frowned. He crouched down to look.
"Tires punctured."
"Yeah, there's a small hole on the side." He leaned in for a closer look and felt it with his hand. He stood up, said nothing, and went to grab some tools. The van stopped at the shop's entrance. 4 men got out. The guy with the buzz cut leaned against the hood, lit a cigarette, and watched us from a distance. Joe walked over with a jack. He lowered his voice.
"You pissed them off?"
"Maybe." He didn't ask anything else. He started taking off the tire. He was skilled, but moving slow. Unusually slow. It took 10 minutes to get one tire off, and he still wasn't done. I was anxious as hell. I couldn't help but say, "Sir, can you hurry it up? I'm in a rush."
"What's the hurry? With a tire like this, you need it fixed right to be safe."
He spoke quietly, but I noticed that while he spoke, he glanced over at those men. Then, in a whisper only I could hear, he said,
"This wasn't a puncture. Someone stabbed it from the side with an awl. This technique anyone on the road long enough knows it. They're professional thugs."
My heart sank. Joe glanced at
"Those guys again. They're not just following you. They're trying to stall you."
"I know. But I have to get home. My parents."
"The more you rush, the more they'll block you. Trust me. Even if I fix the tire, they'll find another way to stop you."
I grit my teeth and said nothing. Old Joe was silent for a moment. His movements suddenly quickened. He had the tire off in no time, patched it as fast as he could, and put it back on. It took less than 20 minutes. But he didn't stand up. He crouched by the tire, wiping his hands with a rag. He glanced toward the back of the repair shop.
And then he said in a low whisper, "Miss, listen to me. Your car is fixed, but you can't just leave. If you leave, they'll follow you. They've got more traps waiting ahead."
"What should I do then?" Old Joe stood up, pretending to check the tire pressure. He lowered his voice even more.
"There's a small door in the back of my shop. It leads to the alley behind us. The alley comes out on another road. Go north for 3 kilometers to get back to the main road."
I was stunned for a second.
"Leave your car here. You go first. I'll stall them. Find another way home."
My car?
"Leave the car with me for now. Don't worry. I've run this shop for 20 years. No one dares to cause trouble here."
I looked at Old Joe's face, covered in grease and grime. My eyes suddenly welled up. "Sir, I..."
"Don't say it."
He slapped my car door, raising his voice so those people could hear.
"The tire's patched, but it's still leaking a bit. I need to keep an eye on it. Come inside and sit for a while. Have some water. Let's check it again in an hour or so."
Buzzcut heard him. A satisfied smile crossed his face. He turned and said something to his crew. They relaxed even more. Some of them even pulled snacks out of the car and started eating. Old Joe led me into the shop. As we passed a corner piled with old tires, he gave a sudden pull, revealing a
rusty metal door behind them. "Go out through here. Turn left at the end of the alley. There's a path. The bus stop is a 5-minute walk. The last bus is at 10:20. You'll make it."
"Sir, you're helping me so much."
"Don't argue. Just go. Stop wasting time."
I bit my lip, pulled 500 out of my pocket, and shoved it into his hand. Then I hunched over and ducked out through the small door. The metal door closed behind me. The alley is very dark. Only a single street lamp flickers in the distance. The ground is uneven, filled with puddles. I stumble along as I run, my heart pounding in my throat. Old Joe's voice echoes from behind. It is very loud, meant for those outside to hear.
Come on in. Have some tea. I have some excellent pua here. Take your time. No rush.
Then comes the voice of the guy with the buzz cut.
Sir, how long have you had this shop?
20 years.
Their voices fade away. I run out of the alley. I turn left. It figures, there is a small path. A few electric scooters are parked by the road. The lights of a bus stop glow in the distance. As I reach the bus stop, a minibus pulls up. I hop on, drop in my fare, and find a window seat. The engine starts, driving off into the night. I lean against the window, shaking all over. I finally lose control and burst into tears. The bus rattles along the county road. The night outside is as dark as ink. I pull out my phone and call my dad. Dad.
Wangsing, where are you?
My dad's voice sounds tense, like he is holding something back. Dad, is something wrong at home? Silence on the other end for a few seconds.
It is nothing big. Your mom just misses you.
Dad, don't hide it from me. Another 2 seconds of silence. Then my dad says something that makes my blood run cold.
2 people showed up at the house. They say they are friends of yours. They want to wait for you at home.
My heart skips a beat. When did they get there? My dad's voice is steady, but I can tell he is suppressing his anger.
They have been here since this afternoon. They said they met you on the road. They knew you were coming back for the Mid-Autumn Festival, so they came specifically to see you. I do not believe them, but I can't just kick them out.
Dad, they are coming at me. Whatever you do, do not confront them. I'll be there real quick.
I know. Don't worry. I know what I'm doing.
The bus stopped in town. I got off. I hired a car to head to the village. The car sped through the night. I leaned against the back seat, closing my eyes. I replayed everything that happened today in my head. The setup, the tailing, the delay at the rest stop, the punctured tire, the escape from the repair shop, and those 2 friends at home. All of this was a trap set by the same person. Lin Chiang was just a lackey. There's someone behind him. In my mind, I recalled the message on Lin Chiang's phone. It must be him. He didn't just want to stall me on the road, he wanted to wait for me at home. What is he really up to? When I pushed open the gate, the living room light was still on, the TV was on, playing a late-night opera show. The volume was turned down low, with faint singing. My dad sat in a bamboo chair facing the TV, holding a teacup in his hands. His back was perfectly straight. Dad, Mom. I entered, anxious and worried. My dad stood up quickly. His eyes swept quickly behind me. The yard was empty, no car. His eyelid twitched, but he said nothing. He just picked up his teacup and took a fake sip. My mom came out of the kitchen, flour still on her apron. The moment she saw me, her eyes reddened. But she wore a cautious, hesitant smile.
Wangsing, you're back. Your friends are here. They've been waiting for hours.
When she said friends, she glanced toward the sofa and then back at me. I understood that look. Honey, who are these people? I didn't say anything, just shook my head slightly.
Mom made dumplings, leek and egg. Your fave.
But her hands were shaking. 2 men were sitting on the sofa. The fat one was leaning against the backrest. He had his legs crossed. The skinny one was huddled in the corner on his phone. The coffee table was covered in seed shells and cigarette butts. They hadn't touched the fruit my mom brought out. The edges had even started to curl from drying out. The fat man stood up. He smiled and patted his pants.
Master Lin is back. Your parents are very nice people. We've been chatting all afternoon. It felt just like family.
I didn't say anything. I walked over and stood by my dad. Then I turned around. I looked at the fat man. Thanks for keeping my parents company. Now that I'm back, I won't keep you any longer. The smile remained on the fat man's face, but his eyes turned cold.
Master Lin, we came a long way.
I said, you can leave. My voice wasn't loud, but it was firm. My mum leaned closer to my dad. My dad stayed in the same position, holding his teacup, his eyes fixed on the TV, as if he hadn't heard a thing. But his fingers tightened around the cup, his knuckles turning white. The fat man didn't move. The skinny one didn't move either. The living room was quiet for a few seconds. The opera singer on the TV was still singing, trilling and wailing, sounding muffled as if through cotton, not leaving. Then I'll have the police come pick you up. I reached for the phone in my pocket. Before my hand even touched it, the lean man sprang from the sofa. He stepped right in front of me. He moved so fast I couldn't even react. One hand clamped down on my wrist, while the other reached into my pocket. He snatched my phone away easily. I tried to twist my arm free. I wanted to grab it back, but I couldn't budge him. He was clearly trained. My mother gasped. She instinctively tried to rush toward me, but the fat man blocked her. She nearly fell. Mom, these people stopped pretending. They started getting physical. My father lunged up to steady my mother. The teacup crashed to the floor. Shards flew everywhere in less than 2 seconds. My father spoke, emphasizing every word.
This is my home. Where do you get the nerve?
The atmosphere turned icy. The lean man stepped forward but was held back. The fat man whispered in his ear.
Don't. This old man looks like he's trained, too. The boss isn't here yet. Don't mess this up.
The lean man nodded. He shot me a glance and stepped back. The fat man tried to smooth things over.
Sir, don't get the wrong idea. We're just here to catch up. We're not here to cause trouble.
The fat man let go of me. He continued trying to calm my father, his gaze remaining cold.
You're getting old, sir. Don't get yourself worked up.
I returned to my parents' side. My mother worriedly stroked my wrist, which was red from being grabbed. Then he said with a smirk,
I've got you, ma'am. It's fine, really.
My father stared at the fat man. The anger in his eyes began to fade, becoming deeper and more focused. He was a veteran driver who spent half his life on the road. He knew his stuff. It wasn't fear. He was assessing the situation. The fat man placed my phone on the coffee table. At the same time, the lean man rudely walked over to my mother. From her apron pocket, she fished out her phone. Then he went to the TV stand and found my father's old flip phone. The 3 phones were lined up neatly on the coffee table. 3 cell phones were lined up neatly on the coffee table. The fat man glanced at the phones on the table. Then he looked back at me.
He smirked. Mr. Lin. You're being difficult. We came all this way to see you out of the goodness of our hearts. Why call the police?
But I couldn't take it anymore. I looked at the 3 phones on the coffee table. The ceramic shards on the floor. I looked at my mother's reddened eyes. I clenched my fists. From Dongguan to the highway. From the staged accident to the rest area. From the punctured tire to escaping the repair shop. From being followed all the way to our doorstep. They had been closing in on us step by step. Now they were sitting on my sofa, eating my fruit, taking our phones, cornering my parents. I took a step forward. What exactly do you want? My voice wasn't loud, but the air in the living room felt like it was being weighed down by something. My dad walked over. He pressed down on my hand, signaling me to stay calm. The fat man gave a dismissive laugh. Your father is the sensible one. You still have a lot to learn, young Lin.
Don't make things difficult for us. Once our boss gets here, everything will be easy once you two meet.
The fluorescent lights in the living room were blindingly bright. The atmosphere in the house grew increasingly suffocating. The fat man sat back down on the opposite sofa. Crossing his legs, the glow from his phone screen reflected on his face. The skinny man leaned against the doorframe. He lit a cigarette. The smoke drifted in, making my mother cough a few times. I helped my mother sit down to keep making dumplings. My dad took a broom, cleaning up the shards on the floor. The pastry board was set on the coffee table. She kept her head down, rolling the dough with the pin over and over. The wrappers she rolled out were either lopsided or oval. The thickness was uneven too. This wasn't her usual skill level. The finished dumplings lay crooked and limp on the tray. Some weren't even pinched shut, with the filling exposed. My dad sat back down beside her. He reached out to help, but my mother pushed him away. She didn't want my dad to touch her, because the fat man was watching them. That gaze was like a nail, driven into their backs. Impossible to pull out. No one spoke. The TV is on. The late-night opera is turned down low. A faint, melodic humming, as if drifting from far away. Mom rolls the dough for a while, then stops. Hands resting on her knees, she takes a deep breath. I see flour on her fingers. Her knuckles are trembling slightly. Mom, let me help. I reach for the rolling pin.
No need.
She pulls her hand back. She rolls it a few more times. Suddenly, she stands up, carrying the tray toward the kitchen. The dumplings wobble on the tray, and 2 more fall apart. By the time I follow her into the kitchen, she's already started the water. Small bubbles form in the pot. She stands before the stove, her back to me. Her shoulders are tense. She drops the dumplings into the pot one by one, moving slowly, as if she's counting. Boiling water splashes. She flinches, without a word. Mom, you're burned. I walk over.
It's fine.
She puts down the strainer. She rubs the back of her hand on her apron. I see a red patch there. A blister is already forming. I don't know when, but Dad followed us in, too. He says nothing. He turns to the living room and finds an old tin box. Ointment. Band-aids. All stuffed together.
Come here.
He pulls out a chair. I press Mom down to sit as we apply the medicine. I unscrew the ointment and gently rub it on the blister on the back of her hand. Her hands are rough, with wrinkles like a parched riverbed. The burn is a glaring red. My dad stands beside us, resting his hand on her shoulder. His fingers tighten slightly. The fat man in the living room looks up, then looks back down. The skinny man's cigarette glows and fades in the darkness. Neither of them is in the mood to care about our family moment. One is playing cards, the other is playing games. I keep my head down, applying a bandage for my mom. My mom leans into my ear, her voice dropped to a whisper.
Wangsing, what on earth happened? My heart won't stop racing.
I look into my mom's worried, wrinkled eyes, then glance at my dad. He hasn't said anything, but his eyes are also searching for answers. It's nothing, just some trouble on the road. I was hauling a load of red sandalwood and was 2 tons overweight. I was fined $4,500 and lost 9 points. My mum's hand suddenly tightens in mine, but I didn't lose out. I only unloaded 3 tons. The rest was seized and reported to forestry inspection. Those extra 2 tons were from an illegal source, a grade 2 protected plant. Lin Qiang was arrested. The fine was dropped. The points were cleared. The deposit was refunded.
Then the people in this room, her voice is barely audible.
My dad speaks for me, his lips barely moving.
Lin Qiang's backers are here to settle the score.
My mum's face turns pale instantly. My mum looks up at me. I can't quite describe the look in her eyes. Is it fear, heartache, or something else?
So, what do we do? Wang Xing, maybe we should call the police.
Her voice trembles, clutching my hand and not letting go. Mom, calling the police is useless. We can't hide from this. My mum's tears well up again. She bites her lip to keep from sobbing. I squeeze her hand. My chest tightens in waves. Not going to lie, I don't know what to do either. Who the boss behind this is, how many men he has, and what he wants I have no idea. All I know is he can make Lin Qiang threaten me with photos of my parents, have 4 men corner me on the street, and have a fat man and a skinny one sit in my house and take our phones. I stay silent. My palms are drenched in sweat. My dad suddenly speaks. His voice isn't loud, but it's steady, like the roads he's driven his whole life, the ones he's paved himself. Level, straight, unwavering.
Why are you crying? The sky hasn't fallen yet.
My mum looks up at him. My dad rests his hand on her shoulder. His knuckles are thick, his veins bulging, but that hand is as steady as if it were welded there.
The boss they're waiting for is named Chen. His name is Qin Shanhei. He's a timber smuggler.
I suddenly remember on Lin Qiang's phone, the contact was indeed Chairman Chen. Dad, you. How did you know? Dad glanced at me, then lowered his head and leaned in. He kept his voice as low as possible.
Your Uncle Wang. I've already contacted him. He's already looked into this Qin Shanhei.
Uncle Wang, he was Dad's old partner from their driving days when they were young. He later became a police officer. Now he's at the Municipal Bureau, serving as the Deputy Chief of the Economic Crime Investigation Division. I met him a few times when I was a kid. Tall, loud, with a laugh like thunder. Mom calls him Lao Wang. Dad calls him Chief Wang. But in private, he still calls him Lao Wang. With Dad's reaction speed, it seems like he's still got it. That's my dad for you. Dad patted Mom and me on the shoulders to comfort us.
So we're going to help you. Isn't Uncle Wang's team here to settle the score? Let's see if they can outsmart us this time.
Mom opened her mouth, but nothing came out. Outside the courtyard gate, the sound of a car engine rumbled. Headlights beamed through the gate, sweeping across the living room walls. The fat man instantly wiped all expression from his face. He stepped aside, stooping slightly. The thin man put away his phone and stood up straight. The courtyard gate is pushed open from the outside. Footsteps approach from a distance. Steady, unhurried. A man wearing a dark casual suit and gold-rimmed glasses walks in. He's in his 40s. Refined and clean-cut. His leather shoes click against the stone path of the courtyard making a crisp sound. 4 men follow behind him. I recognize those 4. The one with the buzz cut, the driver with the cigarette, and the 2 accomplices who were loitering at the service area. They follow the man in the suit into our courtyard. Like a pack of hounds following their master, the man steps into the living room. His gaze sweeps across the room. My mum, my dad, the 3 phones on the coffee table. Finally, he looks at me. He smiles. A very gentle smile.
Master Lin. I've heard so much about you.
He sits down on the sofa. He crosses his legs. Buzzcut and the driver stand behind him. The other 2 guard the door. The fat man hands him a cigarette. He lights it.
My name is Chen. Chen Shanhei.
He says the name very slowly, as if checking if I recognize it. I do. The message on Lin Qiang's phone. Boss, I can't hold out anymore. That boss is him. Chen Shanhei takes a puff of his cigarette. The smoke drifts slowly under the light.
That shipment of red sandalwood you reported in Dongguan was mine. You cost me 20 million. This debt you have to pay back.
My mum's face turns pale instantly. My dad's hand, holding his teacup, freezes.
But you can't pay back 20 million. I won't force you to, either. It's not the money I care about. It's the person. You can move cargo, and you even got Lin Qiang sent away. It shows you've got talent. What I need most is talented people. So, I'm giving you a chance. Deliver 1 shipment for me. Once it arrives, we're even.
I gave a speechless chuckle. I can't. I was overweight in Dongguan, fined, lost points on my license, and my account was banned. Those losses were all because of you, Mr. Chen. And now you want me to drive for you again.
But if you don't, what about your parents?
Chen Shanhei glanced at my mother, and then at my father. His gaze was slow and deliberate, as if he were examining 2 fragile objects. My mom wanted to speak, but my dad held my hand down. My dad put down his teacup, looked up, and faced Chen Shanhei. Mr. Chen, he said. His voice was quiet, but steady.
I've been in the trucking business for 30 years. I've seen it all. Come at me. Don't scare the two of them.
The old master, why would I come at you? It's your daughter's talent I'm after.
Then talk to her properly.
Just this one trip. Once the cargo is delivered, you can go back to driving and go back to your life. And your parents will also be safe.
The living room fell silent for a few seconds. No truck. I can't transport it. They trashed my car. It's a total loss. I pointedly glanced at the crew cut guy and his men. Chen Shan, his eyes darkened almost imperceptibly. He was clearly annoyed.
A logistics family, and you can't find a truck.
Chen Shan has stared at me. I felt a bit uncertain. I instinctively looked back at my father. Dad put down his teacup. He stood up. His voice was soft but steady.
There's still one old truck. At the back of the village.
Chen Shan had tilted his chin. The fat man and the crew cut guy followed immediately. We walked through the courtyard. Past the vegetable garden behind the house. We reached the old house at the very edge of the village. It was the house my grandfather left us. The paint was peeling off the walls. The wooden door was weathered. Dad used an old brass key. He unlocked the iron gate. Moonlight spilled inside. It illuminated the center of the old house. An old Dongfeng heavy-duty truck was parked there. The military green paint was faded and patchy. There was a crack in the windshield. It looked like a crouching old ox, ready to stand up at any moment.
An old Dongfeng from the 70s. A decommissioned vehicle.
Dad patted the hood. He pulled the door open for Chen Shanhei's men to inspect it. The fat man crawled under the chassis to look around. The crew cut guy popped the hood and glanced inside. He circled the truck twice with a detector.
This bucket? Does it even run?
Then go find a new one. The fat man was silenced by my remark. Chen Shanhei shot him a look to shut him up. While they were busy inspecting, Dad pulled me into the cab. Under the guise of showing me the ropes, he lowered his voice. His fingers reached under the steering wheel. He pried open a small cover, revealing a thumb-sized black box.
A military tracker. When it was decommissioned, it wasn't stripped clean. Military frequency, civilian gear. Can't pick it up. As soon as you start the engine, Uncle Wang's team will copy your real-time location, no matter where you drive. He'll see you. If anything happens, within 20 minutes, they'll be there.
I touched the cold little box. My heart suddenly felt at ease. Dad's voice was barely a whisper.
City economic crimes, forestry police, border anti-smuggling, a triple agency synergy. This trip is vital. We need someone to map their routes and identify the drop-off points. It's also very risky. Sweetie, think this through.
I touched the small black box. It was cold, hard, like a heart. I'll drive. Otherwise, this will never be over. We'll never have any peace. A complex smile appeared on my dad's face, and his voice trembled slightly.
That's my girl. The year your mom was pregnant with you, I was driving the Chuanzang route. Heavy snow blocked the mountains, and I was trapped for 3 days and nights. Your mom was crying on the phone. I told her I was fine, and that I'd definitely make it back.
He looked at the crack on the windshield.
I made it back. You have to make it back, too.
I nodded hard, blinking back my tears, and looked at my dad with determination. I got out of the car, meeting Chen Shanhei's intense gaze. I'll do the run, but not for free. You wrote off 20 million in losses, which means this shipment is worth a lot. What's my cut? Chen Shanhei paused for a moment, then laughed. He looked very satisfied. He took out his phone and tapped it a few times. My phone vibrated. A bank notification. 75,000.
Is that enough for you?
He put his phone away. The route map. He took a map from the fat man. It showed a route through the deep mountains that bypassed all checkpoints. The destination was a private dock at the border.
Tomorrow morning at 6, take this car to this location to load up. Deliver it to the dock on time. Someone will be there to meet you.
At 4:30 a.m. the next morning, it was still dark, and a car horn suddenly blared outside the gate. It wasn't a polite tap. It was a long, impatient blare. In the village at 4:30 a.m., it sounded incredibly piercing, like a dull knife cutting through the silence. The neighbors' dogs woke up and started barking one after another. I peered through the gap in the gate and took a look outside. A black SUV was parked on the road. The headlights were on, casting a blinding beam straight against my courtyard wall. The fat man sat in the driver's seat, with the skinny one in the passenger seat. Their faces, in the faint dashboard glow, flickered in and out of the light, like two wax figures. I changed into some rugged workwear, pulled my hair back tight, and put on a cap. Standing in front of the mirror, I took a look at myself. There were dark circles under my eyes. I barely slept last night, but my eyes looked steady. Chen Shanhei's men were here to check the car again. Two small fry. They circled the old Dongfeng twice, crawled underneath to check the chassis, popped the hood to inspect the engine, and even ran a scanner over it.
Just an old bucket. Nothing out of the ordinary.
They have no idea that the military-grade GPS is embedded in the fuel tank's lining. They could scan it 100 times and never find it. My dad, still worried, taught me how to handle the vehicle.
The clutch is heavy, so you have to push hard. The gear shifts are loose, so lean a bit to the right when you shift. The brakes are soft at first, but they stiffen up later. Brake early.
I noted everything down. My dad taught me slowly and carefully, explaining every detail. Chen Shanhe's men stood in the distance, smoking, and watching us. They glanced over occasionally, seeing nothing suspicious. A father teaching his daughter to drive was only natural. But they were impatient, honking the horn again to rush us. Hearing the horn, my dad lowered his voice and gave me quick instructions.
Uncle Wang's people are already in position. Once you reach the pickup point, drop the load and leave. Don't leave the vehicle. If anyone tries to stop you on the road, don't stop, just ram through. Your grandfather modified this vehicle. The front bumper is solid steel. Most cars won't stand a chance against you.
He spoke line by line, and I memorized every word. The horn blared again. My dad stopped, looking at those two men, silent with suppressed rage. Then, he took something out of his pocket and placed it in my hand. A copper coin on a red string, polished bright.
Your grandfather carried this when he was on the road. I carried it for 30 years too. Now, I'm giving it to you.
I hung the coin around my neck, resting against my chest. It was cold, but it soon warmed up. Dad, don't worry. I know what to do.
Wanksing.
Outside the car, my mum finally couldn't hold it in. Seeing me about to leave, she rushed forward in a panic. Tears began to fall. She handed in the dumplings I loved.
Wanksing, here are the leek dumplings you like, and your favorite snacks. It's hard to eat on the road, so don't let yourself go hungry.
After she finished speaking while clinging to the window, my dad gently pulled her away. He stood with her outside the window, watching me through the crack.
Wanksing, Mom will be waiting for you.
My mum sobbed. I felt a lump in my throat, and I almost cried.
Wanksing, drive safely.
My dad added worriedly, yeah. I nodded firmly, and started the car. My dad took 2 steps back, supporting my tear-streaked mother in the morning light, standing like a mountain. I turned the key, and the engine roared. On the dashboard, the black tracker flashed a green light. I knew Uncle Wang had received my signal. I shifted gears, released the clutch, and hit the gas. The old Dongfeng drove steadily onto the village road, merged onto the highway, and followed the SUV ahead heading south. In the rearview mirror, my dad and mom were still standing there. They got smaller and further away, until they became a tiny speck, fading into the morning light. The steering wheel is heavy, the clutch is stiff, but the engine is steady as a heartbeat. The black device on the dashboard, the tracker, has a green light. I know Uncle Wang is watching my every coordinate. But I also know Chen Shanhe's men are watching my every move. It feels like walking a tightrope. Below is a bottomless pit, and someone's pointing a gun at your head. Following that SUV off the village road, onto the highway, then turning onto a county road. After driving for about 40 minutes, I signaled and slowed down, heading toward the junction 3 kilometers ahead. Finally, we reached the loading point deep in the valley, an abandoned timber mill. The corrugated iron sheds were rusted. A few stacks of timber, covered in canvas, were piled in the yard. The air was thick with the damp smell of wood and rust. I parked the truck and killed the engine. The fat man and the thin one got out, each taking a spot to stand. Like 2 utility poles, they just stared at me without a word. Less than 5 minutes later, 2 more cars arrived, a black Mercedes and a silver grey van. The Mercedes door opened first. Chen Shanhe stepped out, straightened his collar, glanced at me, and smiled.
Master Lin. Right on time.
He pulled a pack of cigarettes from his pocket, took one out, and lit it. He strolled over to the cargo pile, and waved to the workers to load up. The canvas was pulled back, revealing stacks of neatly piled oilwood. The dark red wood gleamed under the overcast sky. I got out and took a look. I estimated this load was at least 15 or 16 tons, much more than the last batch of sandalwood. But I noticed as the workers were moving them, besides the oilwood, there were several packages wrapped tightly in black waterproof cloth. They weren't big, but it took 2 men to lift them, looking very heavy. I walked over, pretending to check the cargo box. My eyes swept over the packages. A corner of one package had torn during the move, revealing a glimpse. It was bundles of cash, $100 bills, stacked neatly, like bricks. My heart tightened. As another package was being moved off the vehicle, I heard the sound of metal clashing again, dull and rhythmic, like something shifting inside. I'd heard that sound before. I once hauled a shipment of hardware, screwdrivers and wrenches, in a box sounded just like that. But that wasn't the sound of hardware, because hardware wouldn't have that muffled, tightly wrapped resonance. It was guns. My blood ran cold, but I didn't let any of it show on my face. I turned around and walked back to the cab, pretending I hadn't seen anything. My heart was beating so fast, it felt like it would jump out of my throat. I took 2 deep breaths to calm myself down. Chen Shanhe isn't just smuggling timber. He's moving assets, cash, weapons, these things appearing at a private dock on the border. There's only one explanation. He's planning to bail. Once this shipment is delivered, he doesn't intend to come back. The workers continued loading the truck. Log after log of oily wood was stacked into the cargo hold. Those black packages were stuffed deep inside the container and covered tightly with timber. Once the loading was finished, I sat in the cab, getting ready to start the engine, when I saw Chen Shanhe walking straight over. He pulled the passenger door handle. It didn't open. I had it locked. He knocked on the window. I hesitated for a second, then reached out and hit the unlock button. He opened the door and sat inside, crossing his legs. The cab wasn't very big to begin with. As soon as he entered, the air seemed to thicken. He had a faint scent of cologne, mixed with cigarette smoke, lingering in the small space.
Let's go. Drive exactly where I tell you.
I didn't move and just looked at him. Mr. Chen. A big boss like you. Tagging along in person. He turned his head to look at me. His eyes behind the lenses were smiling, but the smile didn't reach them.
What? Am I not welcome?
I just think it's a bad look for a big boss like you to be sitting here with me. You have so many people working for you. Just send any of them to follow. Why come yourself? He didn't answer. Instead, he pulled a pack of cigarettes from his pocket, pulled one out and lit it. Smoke filled the cab. I frowned and cracked the window open slightly.
Lin.
He spoke slowly.
You've been driving freight for 3 years. What's the farthest you've driven?
Over 2,000 kilometers.
Is it tiring?
It's all right.
By yourself?
By myself. He nodded, silent for a few seconds, as if he were thinking about something. Then he said something, completely out of nowhere.
I used to drive, too.
I was stunned for a moment and turned to look at him. He didn't look back. His eyes were fixed on the windshield, watching the grey sky outside.
We didn't have cars this good back then. The roads weren't this good either. I'd sleep by the road when I was tired. I'd eat plain buns when I was hungry. Once, my brakes failed on the Sichuan-Tibet highway. I jumped out. I broke 3 ribs. I lay on the side of the road for 6 hours. I finally caught a passing car.
When he said this, his tone was flat, like he was talking about someone else. I asked him, what happened then? He said,
I stopped driving long haul after that. Trucking was too slow. The money was too slow. If you want to move fast, you have to take a different path. Ken.
He didn't say what path. I didn't ask, either. But his mouth twitched when he spoke, showing something I couldn't quite describe. He suddenly turned to look at me.
Driver Lin, have you ever thought about leaving this business?
Not really. Driving is all I know.
You can make a name for yourself driving.
He said.
But not the way you're doing it.
He crushed his cigarette in the ashtray. It was the old ashtray in my truck, the one I'd used for 3 years, left to me by my father.
You've got guts and you're sharp. You stood up to Lin Qiang on your own and managed to walk away from it. Someone like you shouldn't spend their whole life hauling this junk. Why don't I put up the money and you can drive for me exclusively?
He was trying to recruit me. I laughed it off. You flatter me, Mr. Chen. I'm not sure I've got that kind of talent. He didn't reply. His gaze was complex, scrutinizing, and sizing me up, as if weighing how much I was worth. The mountain road became harder to drive. The road went from asphalt to concrete, then to gravel, and finally to packed dirt. The wheels kicked up a cloud of yellow dust as we passed. The old Dongfeng suspension was as stiff as iron. The jolting made every bone in my body ache. Chen Shanhe kept his composure at first, with his trousers perfectly creased, but after less than an hour, he stopped crossing his legs. He planted both feet on the floor, gripping the handle, as his body jolted along with the truck. His wire-rimmed glasses kept sliding down his nose. He pushed them up twice, then just took them off and held them in his hand. Another half hour goes by. The road conditions have worsened. There's a series of hairpin turns ahead. The road is scarred with deep gullies from the rain. Every time the old Dongfeng truck rounds a bend, it tilts violently to one side. The timber in the cargo bed makes a series of heavy, dull thuds. Chen Shanhe's face has completely changed. Gone is his calm and composed manner, replaced by a look of strained endurance, an irritability that's reaching its limit. He purses his lips, his jaw muscles twitching. His Adam's apple bobs. He's trying not to throw up. We reach a fork in the road. He finally can't take it anymore. He gestures for me to stop. I pull over. Chen Shanhe's face is as white as paper. Fine beads of sweat cover his forehead.
Master Lin, take the truck the rest of the way alone. I have other plans. Meet at the destination.
I glance at him, knowing exactly what's happening. He can't stand this beat-up truck. But I don't call him out, just nodding and saying, got it. He pauses, then adds one more thing.
Watch the cargo. This stretch of road is rough.
He shuts the door and gets into the Mercedes behind us. The Mercedes turns off onto the left fork. The tires crunch over the gravel, making a loud rattling sound. It quickly disappears behind the trees. I stare at that fork in the road. A thought suddenly crosses my mind. He took that path not just because the ride was too bumpy. He's keeping his options open. If anything goes wrong at the checkpoint, and he's not in this truck, he won't be taken down with us. This man calculates every single move. I was about to follow the van and keep moving forward, when suddenly in the rearview mirror several figures appeared. The silver-grey van was parked on the shoulder, its doors wide open. 4 men were swaggering toward my car, their pace casual, like they were strolling through a market. The one in the lead had a buzz cut. His scalp was shaved so close it looked blue. A thick gold chain hung around his neck, and he walked with a swagger. Behind him followed a man with a scar on his face, running from his ear to his chin, like a centipede crawling on his cheek. A cigarette always dangled from his mouth, the ash burning long without being flicked. At the back was a man as skinny as a monkey, his shoulders hunched and his eyes shifty. The buzz cut walked up to my side of the cab and knocked on the window. The knocking was rhythmic and quite forceful.
Master Lin, open the door.
I rolled down the window just a crack. What do you want? He grinned.
Your car is big and looks spacious. We'd like a ride, too.
I don't take passengers. The back is for cargo. There's only room for 1 in the cab. I put my hand on the gear shifter, ready to start the car and leave. The buzz cut walked around to the other side, pulled open the passenger door, and poked his head in to look. Then he turned back and smiled at the others.
Plenty of room for 3. Scoot over, Muslin. Let's huddle up to stay warm.
When he said this, his tone was light and airy, like he was joking, but his eyes said otherwise. He scanned me from head to toe, his gaze lingering on my chest and my waist for a moment, then he looked away as if nothing had happened. That momentary lingering made my skin crawl. I reached to pull the door shut to refuse him, but his hand held the door firmly in place. Buzzcut leaned his whole body against the car door. The door wasn't closed. I couldn't drive at all. I told you there's no room.
Driver Lin, don't be so stingy.
He leaned over the window crack. His voice wasn't loud, but that condescending vibe was as thick as spoiled swill.
The boss isn't around. We're all one of us, so why act like a stranger? Besides, you're just a woman.
As he spoke, he had already plopped his backside down in the passenger seat. The moment he sat down, the entire car shook. It wasn't because he was heavy, but because he slammed himself down on purpose. It was like he was asserting something. He leaned back, reclining the seat as far as it would go. He propped his legs up on the dashboard. The mud from his leather shoes rubbed off on the inside of the windshield, leaving a filthy streak. Scarface pulled open the door behind me. He plopped himself inside. He leaned his whole body forward, his chin almost resting on my headrest. His hot breath, mixed with smoke, sprayed a stench against the back of my head. It was so foul I winced.
Driver Lin, this car of yours rides pretty smooth.
His voice was raspy, like sandpaper on sheet metal. Skinny squeezed in after them, taking the middle of the back seat. He didn't put on a seatbelt. He braced his hands on the seat, swinging his legs and looking around. I gripped the steering wheel tight, my knuckles turning white, my nails dug into the rubber, leaving deep marks. I didn't say a word, shifted, released the clutch, and hit the gas. Buzzcut reached into his pocket again, fished out a cigarette, and lit it. He blew out a cloud of smoke, squinting at me.
Driver Lin.
The old Dongfeng lurched forward. The big guy in the back was caught off guard. He bounced off his seat. His head slammed against the roof. He let out a pained grunt.
Driver Lin, you did that on purpose, didn't you?
Buzzcut's voice came from beside me. He was grinning, but there was a hint of impatience in his voice. This old truck is hard to drive. Buckle up if you can't stay still. Slim leaned forward from the back seat. He rested both hands on the back of my seat, resting his chin on the back of his hands. He spoke right into my ear.
How old are you, Driver Lin? Are you married? Do you have a boyfriend?
His breath brushed against my ear. It was hot. The itchiness made me want to shrink away. I didn't move or answer. My eyes were glued to the road ahead.
Silence means you don't.
He chuckled, the sound grating in his throat. It had an uncomfortably oily quality.
It just so happens we're all single. Why don't you take your pick?
Buzzcut laughed from the passenger seat. He didn't say anything else, but the implication of that laugh was clear. He was condoning it. He was even encouraging it. My fingers tightened on the steering wheel. Less than half an hour later, Buzzcut in the passenger seat. He took his legs off the dashboard. He turned to look at me. His gaze lingered on my face. Then it drifted downward.
You've been driving freight for 3 years, Driver Lin. Don't you get lonely on the road by yourself?
I didn't respond. My eyes remained fixed on the road.
I heard that female drivers constantly get hit on while on the road. Has that happened to you?
He leaned forward, propping his elbows on the center console. He got even closer to me, the smell of his sweat mixed with the cigarette smoke in the car hit me. I instinctively tilted my head to the left. No, I said, I'm focusing on the road.
Oh, so serious.
He laughed. He reached for the thermos on the dashboard. That was my thermos. I'd used it for 3 years. On the side of the thermos was a Peppa Pig sticker. My mom put it there. She said it looked cheerful. He unscrewed the lid. He peered inside at the goji berries.
You're quite health conscious, driver Lynn.
He screwed the lid back on. But he didn't put it back. Instead, he toyed with it in his hands. His thumb was on the lid, rubbing it over and over again. The gesture was sickeningly suggestive. Put it down. He glanced at me but didn't put it down. Instead, he held the thermos up, looking at the goji berries at the bottom against the light.
Driver Lynn, you've had this thermos for a long time, haven't you? There are tea stains at the bottom. I'll buy you a new one sometime.
I said, put it down. The atmosphere in the truck suddenly turned cold. Scarface leaned forward from the back. He looked at me, then he looked at Buzzcut without saying a word. But there was a smirk on his face. It wasn't a friendly smile. He was just enjoying the show. Buzzcut slowly put the cup back, but not in the cup holder. He put it in the storage slot next to it. That was where my cup went. He moved it.
Lynn, don't be so aggressive. We're traveling together. It's better if we just get along.
I ignored him. I took my cup back from the slot and put it back in the holder. My movements were natural, but each one was done with firm, non-negotiable force. After driving for another 10 minutes, Scarface started getting restless. He reached out from the back seat and rested his hand on my right shoulder. He spread his fingers and gave me a squeeze.
Lynn, your shoulders are pretty tense. Tired from driving? Let me give you a rub.
My skin crawled. I jerked my shoulder, shaking his hand off. He pulled his hand back, but there wasn't a hint of apology in his voice. Instead, he sounded like he enjoyed the resistance. Buzzcut spoke from the passenger seat. His voice wasn't loud, but every word hit like a nail being driven in.
Lynn, we're being nice enough to keep you company. Don't be ungrateful. The boss isn't here. It's dangerous for you to drive alone. We're protecting you.
Protecting? I almost laughed out loud. Cutting me off on the highway. Stalling me at the rest stop. Stabbing my tires with spikes. Cornering my parents at home. And they call this protection. But I didn't laugh. And I didn't say a word. I knew reasoning with them was useless. Confronting them was useless too. I couldn't take on 4 men. My mind was racing, thinking of a way out. My dad used to say, in a situation like this, don't force it, wait for your chance. But the chance hadn't come yet. Scarface reached out again. This time, his hand landed on my thigh. Through the fabric of my cargo pants, the heat and weight of that hand felt like a red-hot iron, burning me so much that I jolted. I slammed on the brakes. The speed plummeted from 60 to 20. The car jerked violently. Everyone lurched forward. Scarface's head almost hit the windshield, and his hand pulled back.
You nuts?
He cursed. I stopped the car, pulled the handbrake, and turned around to look at them. The light in the car was dim. My face was half hidden in the shadows, but I could feel my own gaze. My dad used to say that when I'm angry, my eyes are like knives that can cut people. I'm only going to say this to you once, I said, every word low and controlled, but every single one squeezed through my teeth. Don't touch me. Whoever touches me again, I'll make sure they never get out of this car. The car went silent for a second. Then Buzzcut laughed. It wasn't the laugh of someone who was scared. It was the, what can a female like you possibly do to me kind of laugh. He pulled a folding knife from his pocket. It flipped open with a snap. The blade, in the dim light of the dashboard, glinted coldly. He used the tip to clean the dirt from his nails and spoke slowly.
Driver Lynn, look at you talking like that. You're scaring us to death. You're just one woman, and there are 4 of us grown men. Who's really the one who won't be getting out?
He closed the knife, weighed it in his hand, then leaned forward and tapped the back of my seat with the spine of the blade.
Just drive. Don't waste time. The boss is waiting ahead.
The movement was light, but the message was clear. We have a knife. Don't try anything. My hand trembled on the steering wheel. It wasn't from fear, but from rage. I thought back to before we left, to the way Chen Shanhei looked at me. He asked if I wanted to work for him. I laughed it off and didn't answer. He didn't say anything then, but I could tell he wasn't happy. Unhappy with my answer. Unhappy that I didn't show loyalty. Unhappy that I wasn't moved by his sincerity. Now I know the arrogance of these men didn't come from nowhere. Chen Shanhei gave them the green light. In fact, he probably told them specifically. While I'm not around, you guys handle it. This was my lesson. I didn't say a word. I restarted the car and kept driving. The speed was neither fast nor slow, perfectly steady, but those guys read my silence as weakness and became even more reckless. Scarface started putting his hand on the back of my seat again. Buzzcut kept glancing over at me, sizing me up from head to toe, like I was just a piece of merchandise. Skinny Monkey didn't straight up get physical, but he stayed in the back, kicking the back of my seat, over and over, thump, 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 like a countdown. I gritted my teeth, my palms drenched in sweat, and my mind racing. I can't stop, can't snap, and can't call the cops. There's a tracker on the truck. Uncle Wang can see my location, but it'll take time for his people to get here, and these four could make a move any second. I just have to wait for an opening. We drove for about another 20 minutes. The road conditions changed. Gravel turned to dirt, then dirt turned to a mountain path. A real mountain road, not a paved winding highway, but a temporary access road for hauling ore. It was barely wide enough for one vehicle. Rock wall on the left, cliff on the right. The surface was full of potholes and jagged rocks. The guardrails were long gone, leaving only a few crooked concrete posts. Some were uprooted, toppled by the roadside like a row of soldiers with broken legs. I scanned the road. My heart rate's going up, not from fear, but because my chance arrived. There's a series of downhill curves ahead. The road is covered in loose gravel. The tires crunched over them. I slowed down and turned the wheel. The truck rounded the first turn steadily. The guys in the cab bunched together as the truck tilted. Someone cursed. The second turn was sharper. I didn't slow down. 50, 55, 60. The old Dongfeng's engine let out a low growl. The body of the truck tilted further and further on the curve. The tires on the right were practically hugging the edge of the shoulder. Gravel kicked up from under the tires, falling down the cliff. It took forever to hear them hit bottom. Thud. A dull sound. Like a weight on my chest.
Slow down.
Buzzcut shouted from the side. The cockiness in his voice was gone. I ignored him. Instead, I floored it. Hit 65. The third turn on this road is the most dangerous. It's a hairpin turn. Half the outer embankment has collapsed. Several ruts lay across the road, carved by the rain. I cut the wheel. As the car swerved around, the right tires hit the edge of the shoulder. The whole car tilted sharply outward. Everyone inside the cabin slid to the right. Buzzcut grabbed the handle, his knuckles turning white. A pocket knife fell out of his pocket and landed on the floor mat with a clatter. Scarface's hands clutched the front headrest for dear life. His face went pale. The cigarette fell from his mouth, burning a hole in his pants. He didn't even feel it. Skinny was in the middle of the back seat, without a seatbelt. The violent tilt of the car threw him from his seat. Like a flung pebble, he was tossed into the air. His head hit the window with a heavy thud. A spiderweb crack formed on the glass. Before he could even scream, the car jerked violently to the left. He was thrown back to the other side. He ended up lying across the aisle between the seats, curled into a ball. His lip was cut, and blood dripped down his chin. The fourth turn was even steeper. The rain had carved a deep trench in the road. The wheels got caught, and the steering wheel shook violently in my hands. I held the wheel steady, without slowing down. The car was like a frightened beast racing along the edge of the cliff. Everyone inside was being tossed around. Scarface slammed into the armrest. Skinny rolled from the aisle under the back seat. He didn't even have the strength to curse. On the fifth turn, Skinny was tossed up again. He flew even higher this time. He was launched from the aisle and hit the roof of the car. Then he slammed down hard on the back of the rear seat. He bounced and rolled back into the aisle. He gripped the seat legs with both hands, like a drowning man clutching a piece of driftwood. He was shaking all over. Blood dripped onto the floor, one drop at a time, like beads from a broken string. I slowed the car down, driving smoothly through the final turn. The cabin was a mess. Bankento's folding knife lay on the floor mat. Both his hands gripped the seatbelt tight. His knuckles were white. When did he put on the seatbelt? Nobody noticed. Scarface's cigarette butt had rolled off somewhere, leaving only a scorched hole in his pants. Shoha was curled up in the aisle. His face was deathly pale. His lips were purple. His eyes were wide. His pupils were dilated, like he'd seen a ghost. No one spoke. The cabin was so quiet that all that remained was the roar of the engine and the sound of tires over gravel. I slowly drove the truck to a stop at a turnout on the side of the road. I pulled the handbrake. I turned to look at them. Those last 5 turns, I said. My voice wasn't loud, but every word was clear. I can drive them with my eyes closed. But if you touch me again, I paused. My gaze swept from Bankentu's face to Scarface, then to Shoho and Zhuanhen. I'll take you through them again, without the brakes this time. Let's see if we survive. Bankunto's lips moved, like he wanted to say something, but nothing came out. He picked up the folding knife from the floor, closed it, and shoved it back into his pocket. He moved fast, as if afraid that if I saw the knife, I'd do something else. Scarface straightened his seat. He sat up properly, hands on his knees, like a schoolboy. Shohao crawled up from the aisle. He climbed into his seat. He shakily buckled his seatbelt, something he'd never bothered with before. He checked it again after buckling, making sure it was tight, before letting go. No one leaned on the back of my seat anymore. No one touched my cup. No one even turned to look at me. They even held their breath, as if breathing too hard would set me off. I remained expressionless. I shifted gears, released the clutch, and hit the gas. The old Dongfeng rolled steadily forward, neither fast nor slow. 40. The road ahead was still treacherous. The turns were still sharp. But the cabin was as quiet as a grave. No one spoke. No one moved. The four of them sat like statues, well behaved in their seats, eyes fixed on the road ahead, the cliffs outside the window, or the dashboard, where the green light was blinking. Anywhere but at me. I felt a sense of relief, but I didn't dare let my guard down. The steering wheel turned steadily in my hands. One curve after another, one mountain after another. The crack on the windshield reflects the light in the sunset, looking like a silver snake lying there. My dad said it happened while he was driving the Chuanzang line, hit by falling rocks. He wasn't scared, and neither am I. The gravel road turns into asphalt. The car picks up speed. The guys in the back haven't dared to act out since. Buzzcut sits there quietly, checking his phone every now and then. The signal is spotty. He refreshes it a few times without luck, then stuffs the phone back in his pocket, frustrated, but he doesn't say a word. Scarface cracks the window open, letting the wind blow away the smoke. He hasn't said another word to me. Skinny Monkey keeps clutching the wound on his lip. The bleeding has stopped, but he keeps touching it with his finger to make sure it hasn't started again, then puts his hands back on his knees. I enjoy the peace and quiet. After driving for about 4 hours, the sky gradually darkens. The GPS shows we're less than 100 kilometers from our destination. I check the fuel gauge. There's enough. After another hour of driving, it's pitch black. A fork appears in the road ahead. The road sign points toward the border. The arrow points to the narrower road on the right. I use my turn signal and head in. A private pier built in the valley comes into view. The pier isn't big. A concrete trestle extends into the murky river water. Piles of lumber sit on the shore, covered with tarps. I park the truck, turn off the engine. The moment the engine goes quiet, those four act like they've been granted amnesty. As soon as the doors open, they can't wait to jump out. They scramble away from my truck. Chen Shanhe stands at the end of the trestle, still in that dark casual suit. His gold-rimmed glasses catch the white glare of the fog lights, reflecting a blinding light. Someone else is standing next to him, wearing a dark jacket, with his back to me. Chen Shanhe sees my truck and smiles. He walks over and taps the cargo box.
Mr. Lin, your driving is impressive. The goods are here, the balance is coming real quick.
He looks at me, his expression turning serious.
Mr. Lin, get out of the truck. The buyer will be here in 10. Come down and meet them. There'll be plenty more jobs like this in the future. Ask.
I don't move. My father's words echo in my head. Don't leave the vehicle. He leans against the door and lights a cigarette.
Mr. Lin, I'm serious about this collab. If you're always hiding in the truck, it shows you don't trust me.
He blows out a puff of smoke.
Don't worry, you'll get every cent. Come down, have some tea, and let's be friends.
I hesitate. Uncle Wang's people should be in position by now, but the buyer hasn't pulled up yet. If I stay in the truck, the recipient hiding in the shadows might not show his face. I have to draw him out. I pushed the door open and got out. My feet hit the gravel road, making a crunching sound. The night breeze blew in, carrying the fishy smell of the river. It felt chilly. Chen Shanhe nodded with satisfaction, leading me toward the pier. After a few steps, a black sedan drove over from the other end of the dock, stopping not far away. The door opened. A man in his 50s stepped out, square-faced with thick eyebrows. His eyes were deep. He wore a dark jacket, holding a cigar between his fingers, walking over slowly. President Li. Chen Shanhe went to meet him.
The goods are here. Check them out.
President Li glanced at me. He nodded. He walked to the cargo boxes without a word. He had someone pull back the canvas. He pulled out a few logs to inspect them. Then had those black packages brought out. He unzipped them and took a look. Zipped them back up. Then he walked back.
Told Chen Shanhe the goods were fine. The money's been transferred to your account.
Chen Shanhe smiled. A broad, relaxed smile. He turned to look at me.
Master Lin, I'm asking you one last time. Work for me. Or go back to hauling your junk.
I looked at him, without hesitating. Mr. Chen, I don't belong on this path. His smile slowly faded. His eyes behind the gold-rimmed glasses turned cold, like a frozen river. Fine, he said. Then don't blame me for being ruthless. Buzzcut, Scarface, Skinny Monkey, and Brawny Guy. The four of them closed in from behind me. In Buzzcut's hand, he held that folding knife. The blade glinted in the light. Scarface pulled an expandable baton from behind his waist, flicking it open with a snap. Skinny Monkey and Brawny Guy flanked me, blocking my path back.
Master Lin.
Chen Shanhe stepped back.
You know too much. This shipment, this route, and this man. You saw it all. I can't let you live.
My heart leaped into my throat, but my feet didn't move. I stood on the spot, watching the four of them approach step by step. Buzzcut licked his lips.
Master Lin, weren't you acting tough on the road earlier? Try being tough now.
Scarface twirled the baton in his hand. My palms were drenched in sweat, but I didn't back down. Behind me was the front of the old Dongfeng. There was nowhere to run. Just as Buzzcut raised his knife.
Freeze. Police.
The shrill sound of sirens tore through the night. The two entrances of the dock, flooded with blinding headlights at the same time. 3 black SUVs and 2 police cruisers, charged out of the darkness. Headlights on full blast, turning the whole dock bright as day. Over 20 plainclothes officers, fully armed, jumped out of the vehicles. Guns raised, forming a fan to surround them.
Police. Everyone, get down. Hands on your head.
The guy with the buzz cut dropped his knife. It hit the ground with a clang. Scarface let go of his baton too. It rolled right into the river. Skinny Monkey's rope slipped from his hands. He was the first to squat down, hands on his head, shaking like a leaf. The big guy froze where he stood. 2 officers tackled him to the ground on the spot. Chen Shanhe's smile vanished from his face. He whipped his head around to look at me. What was in his eyes shifted from smug satisfaction to utter disbelief.
You.
Finally, it turned to a kind of defeated despair. His lips moved slightly, like he wanted to say something, but in the end, nothing came out. That President Lee tried to make a run for it. A plainclothes officer took him down from behind. His cigar hit the ground, still smoking. Uncle Wang got out of one of the SUVs, walked up to me, patted my shoulder.
Comrade Lin Wangxing, good work. The location info you gave was spot on. The sting went off without a hitch. Chen Shanhe's whole smuggling gang, from procurement, to transport, to getting it out of the country, we took them all down.
My legs nearly gave out. I had to steady myself on the car door, took a long, deep breath. My parents.
Don't worry, we already have people watching your dad. Chen Shanhe stayed behind in the village. Both lookouts tailing him got picked up too.
I nodded, and finally let the tears fall. 2 officers escorted Chen Shanhe right past me. His suit was filthy with dirt, gold-rimmed glasses crooked on his nose. He looked a total mess. Right as he passed me, he paused, turned and stared at me. His look was hard to read. Anger, frustration, shock, and something else I couldn't quite pinpoint. Almost admiration, almost acceptance.
Lin Wangxing. Who are you, really?
I looked right back, took out the copper coin hanging from my neck, slipped it out from my collar, let it glint under the lights. Just a driver. My dad was a driver too. They pushed him forward. He walked a few steps, then suddenly laughed. The laughter wasn't loud, low, but crystal clear in the night air, like someone finally understood everything, and just let it go. I stood by the docks, watching the police lights flashing, illuminating the entire valley. I watched as the smuggled teak was unloaded bundle by bundle from the truck. I watched Chen Shanhe and his men being loaded one by one into the police cruisers. The night wind was strong, blowing my hair all over the place, but I didn't feel the cold. That copper coin was pressed against my chest, feeling warm. My dad once said he would wait for me to come back. I'm back. 3 days later, all the statements and paperwork were finished. Chen Shanhe and his gang were officially arrested. All the smuggled teak was seized. My old Dongfeng was impounded for investigation, but Uncle Wang gave special approval to have it returned within 3 days. When I walked out of the station, my dad was standing by the door, wearing a faded jacket, holding that old tea mug of his. Dad.
Yeah, let's go home.
Not yet. I have to go to Xianggang. My truck is still at old Zhou's repair shop.
Let's go. I'll go with you.
My dad got into the old Dongfeng. I sat in the passenger seat. The way he turned the key was exactly like my grandfather. Half a turn first to wait for the fuel pump, then all the way. The engine roared to life, steady as an old ox. We reached Xianggang. Old Zhou was working on a van. He saw me coming and wiped away his sweat.
Miss, you're here. Those bastards, I heard the news about them getting caught. Serves them right. Your car is doing great. Got new tires on it, and I gave it a tune-up too. On the house.
He pulled out of his pocket the $500 I'd given him that day and shoved it back into my hand.
You've had it rough too. Keep it.
I tried to refuse twice but couldn't. My eyes welled up. My car was parked behind the shop, with its silver white cargo bed all clean. I walked around it and touched the door, like greeting an old friend I hadn't seen in ages. Thanks, old Zhou.
Don't mention it. If you're ever passing through Xianggang, stop by for some tea.
I drove the car out of the shop, and my dad followed behind in the old Dongfeng. 2 cars merged onto the highway, one after the other. My car was in front, the old Dongfeng was behind. It followed at a steady pace, always maintaining a safe distance. The headlights were on, lighting the way behind me. I looked in the rearview mirror at that army green, old Dongfeng. The Dongfeng logo on the hood was missing half a character. On the windshield, that crack in the light looked like a silver scar. My dad sat in the cab, his back perfectly straight, both hands on the wheel as if he were holding the whole world. Over 20 years ago, he drove this truck to take me to school. Back then, he'd always say,
Wangxing, hold on tight. Dad's taking you home.
Now, he's driving the same truck, following behind me like a silent guardian, At 2 in the morning, I saw in the rearview mirror the old Dongfeng following steadily. The headlights felt warm, like 2 stars. I tapped the brakes, and it slowed down too. I sped up, and it sped up as well. Neither too far nor too close, never letting go. Suddenly, I wasn't afraid anymore. Whatever road lay ahead, I wasn't scared, because I knew my dad was right behind me. When the headlights lit up the village entrance, my mum was still standing at the gate. Her apron was still on, clutching a bunch of chives. She saw the 2 cars pull up one after the other. She froze for a moment, then smiled that kind of smile of someone who'd been waiting a long time, a smile of hope for the days ahead.
You're back.
Her voice was soft, as if afraid to wake the night.
We're back.
My dad and I answered at the same time.